We are live from San Diego, California on a spectacularly beautiful day for football. The crowd is getting into it. A tremendous pregame show leading up to the football game itself. And the two teams about ready to take the field. And the Redskins, the National Football Conference champions, are coming out onto the football field. Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford. We are delighted you are with us. Welcome to all of you who are watching this game from overseas, and a very special welcome to all of our servicemen and our servicewomen. Well, the hoopla, the hype, the media hype has died down a little bit, at least for a few hours, even though we have a few jets that are going to fly by, and we have about 44 Rockettes at halftime. But right now it's time for the players to take center stage. They have handled the hoopla here in San Diego very well because they have been here before, but the only real quiet time they have had is the past couple of hours when they have been alone in their locker room, and that's when a football player likes to get his mind together, get mentally ready to play the game. They know they can do it physically, but this is the alone time when they deal with their fears. They deal with their self-doubts, their aspirations, and their hopes, and then it's that long walk down that tunnel. And then all of a sudden you're out onto the football field, your team once again, and you know you're ready to play. There's still some cotton in the mouth and there's some butterflies in the stomach, but you know with the first contact that will disappear. Right now the Denver Broncos getting ready to come out of the football field. Let's join my colleague Al Michaels.
Frank, the Denver Broncos making their second consecutive Super Bowl appearance. Last year, even though they were blown out as it turned out by the Giants 39-20, they led at halftime 10-9. So here they are back in the Super Bowl again. And you know, when you look at teams that reach the Super Bowl, there are normally turning points and critical junctures in their seasons. For Denver, it's very easy. Go back to the middle of November. They were coming off a terrible loss to Buffalo. They were 4-3-1 going into a Monday night game against Chicago, and they were third behind San Diego and Seattle in their own division. But that was the night Chicago missed a couple of extra points, and Jim McMahon was bested by John Elway, who was sensational. And from that point on, Denver rolled. They won 8 out of 9. There is not quite as clear a turning point in the Washington season, but Joe Gibbs felt the most important point of the year was late in November. They were down to the New York Giants, who'd beaten them 3 times last year, 19-3. Came from behind at RFK to win. Ironically, the man who led them from behind is on the bench today, Jay Schrader. So for Washington, with the quarterback controversy, the changing of running backs, it's been a bumpy and turbulent and seatbelt kind of ride, but a very safe landing here in San Diego. Well, over the past 2 weeks, everybody in the free world and beyond has analyzed and given you their predictions, and now with the kickoff just minutes away, Dan Dierdorf gets the last word. What does each team have to do to win this game, Dan?
Al, I don't think the last word has to be something new. As a matter of fact, I think the last word on this game has to go back to basics. And I think, you know, I was a lineman. I believe in whoever controls the line of scrimmage is going to win this ball game. John Elway for Denver, extremely talented, but he can't win this game if he's flat on the back. Denver has the ball. I want to look at a couple matchups during the course of today's game. Right off the bat, it's Dexter Manley and Dave Studdard. Now, Dan Reeves likes this matchup because he thinks Studdard plays best against a defensive end with a lot of speed. That's Manley. On the other side, it's Charles Mann and Ken Lanier. And keep in mind, the last time these two teams met last year in a 31-30 Denver win, Charles Mann had 3 sacks in that ball game, and he's the man on the spot because when John Elway scrambles, more often than not, he scrambles to his right towards Charles Mann. Okay, now Washington has the ball, and we all know about the Hogs and George Rogers and Timmy Smith. They're going to slam it in there. Let's spotlight really a small nose tackle by the name of Greg Cragen. Only 245 pounds. You wonder whether can he hold his own. But I think back to the last time the Redskins played in a Super Bowl, a 245-pounder by the name of Reggie Kinlaw really disrupted the Redskins. Here's the deal. The time is done for the players to talk. It's time for them to play my favorite time. And let's meet the starting lineups for both these clubs. And for that, back to my colleague, Al Michaels.
Introducing now the National Football Conference champion Washington Redskins offensive unit. From Southwest Texas State, wide receiver number 83, Ricky Sanders. From San Diego State, tight end number 85, Don Warren. From Louisville, left tackle number 66, Joe Jacoby. From Tennessee, left guard number 63, Raleigh McKenzie. From Clemson, the center, number 53, Jeff Bostic. From Arkansas, right guard, number 69, R.C. Thielman. From Pittsburgh, right tackle number 73, Mark May. From Portland State, tight end, number 86, Clint Didier. From James Madison, wide receiver, number 84, Gary Clark. From Grambling, quarterback, number 17, Doug Williams. From South Carolina, running back, number 38, George Rogers. And the head coach of the Washington Redskins, Joe Gibbs. And now presenting the offensive unit of the American Football Conference champion Denver Broncos. From Florida, wide receiver number 84, Ricky Nattiel. From Texas, left tackle number 70, Dave Studdard. From Baylor, left guard number 54, Keith Bishop. From Arizona, center number 62, Mike Freeman. From Michigan, the right guard number 79, Stephon Humphreys. From Florida State, right tackle number 76, Ken Lanier. From Georgia, the tight end number 88, Clarence Kay. From Purdue, wide receiver number 80, Mark Jackson. From Stanford, quarterback, number 7, John Elway. From Southern Mississippi, running back, number 23, Sammy Winder. And from Louisiana State, running back number 33, Gene Lang. And the head coach of the Denver Broncos, Dan Reeves. Kickoff moments away for Super Bowl 22 from San Diego. Generally, the weather is just fine. 60 degrees. It'll drop into the mid-50s by the end of the game. Light breeze, partly cloudy skies, no threat of rain. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to midfield are Redskin captains Charles Mann, Dave Butts, Mark May, Joe Jacoby, Reggie Branch, and Dean Hamill. And Bronco captains John Elway, Keith Bishop, Rulon Jones, and Tony Bodie. with us today on his 75th birthday to toss the commemorative coin. Green Bay Packer Hall of Famer, receiver Don Hutson. The referee for today's game, Bob McElwee, will now conduct the coin toss ceremony.
Washington is the visiting team. Captain Dave Butts will make the call. Gentlemen, this is a commemorative coin. Heads is the side with the Vince Lombardi trophy and the 2 helmets. The active players are on the other side. Gentlemen, the helmets and the Vince Lombardi trophy is heads. The action players is tails. Captain Butts, Captain Butts, I'm going to ask you to call it while the coin is in the air. Don, would you please toss the coin?
Heads.
Heads, he says.
It is a head. Let's go.
It is a head. Washington has won the toss. What is your choice? He wants the ball. All right, would you please turn around, gentlemen? Reverse yourselves. Washington has won the toss and will receive at this end. Good luck, men.
And so it's finally here. We get set for the kickoff of Super Bowl 22 on a beautiful day in San Diego. Joe Gibbs knows San Diego so well. He went to school at San Diego State. He was an assistant coach there. He was an assistant with the Chargers. So in a way, it is coming home for a man who in his 7th season is the head coach of his 3rd Super Bowl. 1 win, 1 loss coming in. And Dan Reeves, who took over in Denver at the same time Gibbs came to the helm at Washington. And for Dan Reeves, it's Super Bowl number 2 for the Broncos as a franchise. It is Super Bowl number 3. They were in it 10 years ago under Red Miller and lost to Dallas. They lost last year to the Giants, and they've made it plain and simple for the past week and a half. They're happy to be here, but they'll be miserable to go home with another loss. And for Washington, back to receive Rich Karlis' kick. Ricky Sanders dropping back. He is in the middle. Timmy Smith and Reggie Branch flank him. But Gibbs would like to see the ball wind up in the hands of Sanders, his wide receiver, who stands back at the 2-yard line. So Rich Karlis to kick off. The sun will be no factor because we have partly cloudy skies at the start of the game at about 3:25 Pacific time. And so here we go. Super Bowl 22 is underway. And it's Sanders at the 1. Past the 10 and thrown out of bounds at the 17-yard line along with one of the officials as well. And the first big hit of the day winds up on Jack Fetty, the line judge. Kevin Clark runs him out of bounds. And Doug Williams comes out to run the offense from the 17. Another look right here.
I think Denver right off the bat is telling everyone in this stadium and across America that they plan on winning the battle of special teams. That's some way to fire up your defense to get a game started.
Timmy Smith is in along with Clint Didier in starting roles, and it's Sanders who moves in motion from the 18-yard line, and it's Smith who takes it out to the 21. And this is the very first interesting story of the day, the fact that George Rogers is not starting. Ryan and Smith in on the tackle. George Rogers with an injured ankle in the NFC Championship game 2 weeks ago. And the Redskin coaches indicated to us the other day Rogers would probably start. Smith would see the majority of action. But here it is with Smith starting the game, the rookie. 2nd and 6 at the 22-yard line. to Smith through the middle of the line, and nothing is there. Minimal gain. Rulon Jones gets credit for the tackle. It'll set up 3rd and about 5. Out of the 23-yard line. Doug Williams, who's been sacked just once in the playoffs. And the cast of characters with him, and it will be ever-changing. There it is for the moment. Smith with Sanders and Clark, the wideouts. So O'Brien comes in on 3rd down here. And the offensive line. Art Monk is in on 3rd down and 6 from the 22-yard line. Bryant is number 24. He's their 3rd down specialist. They send him out into the pattern, and the pass is lofted and dropped by Clark. Pressure was put on. Rick Dennison blitzed, forced Williams to get rid of the ball, but the pass was there anyway. Simply a drop by Clark.
Gary Clark had his eyes on the football. It was floating right into his hands, and it looked so easy. It seemed so easy to the sure-handed Clark. He just takes his eyes off. You see the pressure here, and again, Williams is able to get rid of it. He can do it so well.
Well, and that's a smart play defensively by Denver, overloading a side. Dennison right in Williams' face, but again, it all boils down to Gary Clark's mistake and dropping a ball. Pre-game jitters by number 84.
Steve Cox to punt, and Kevin Clark is back for Denver at his own 37-yard line. So the Broncos holding the Skins on their first possession. And it's Clark who lets it bounce at the 45, and it is down at the 44-yard line. So near midfield, the Broncos will begin their first drive of the day. Monty Coleman downing it. And here come the Broncs now, led by John Elway with a marker down, penalty marker down on the punt return.
Ineligible downfield on the kick, number 54. Penalty is declined. First down.
Kurt Gouveia. They'll take it where it stands as John Elway, so brilliant through the regular season and the playoffs. Winder and Lang as running backs. Natil and Jackson start. Vance Johnson will play but not start. And the revamped offensive line. Bill Bryan hurt in mid-year. Mike Freeman takes over at center. Out of the shotgun, which is their basic formation. And Elway going for the bomb right at the outset. Throws caught by Natil. Touchdown!
A rookie from Florida, Ricky Natil, the #1 draft pick. Good protection, working against Barry Wilburn. Man for man, great protection for Elway. He lays it up there right in stride to Natil. And maybe he is Superman, Dan.
And you look at Barry Wilburn giving away the inside of the field to Ricky Natil like he's expecting some sort of help from a safety the inside. Nothing's there. And already, look at this. Denver out in front to a 7-0 lead. Unbelievable.
Rich Karlis with the extra point. Fastest touchdown in Super Bowl history. Broncos come out very much meaning business. Already 7-0 Denver. Ricky Natil was their #1 draft choice. They had the 27th pick. And the Broncos surprised a lot of people. Most thought Denver would go for somebody on defense. They said, no, Natil's available. Let's grab him.
And what did Dan Reeves tell us about Ricky Natil? He said, you know, a lot of people think that Vance Johnson is our best receiver. He said, no way. My #1 guy is Ricky Natil.
And he has said that since preseason. Ricky Sanders from the 1 slips down. And so Washington again begins at just about the same spot around their 16-yard line.
Let's go back and look at Natil's touchdown. Here he is at the top of the screen. Here he's lined up against Wilburn, but look at this Todd Bowles, the free safety. Now let's run it a little bit and watch Wilburn give Natil the inside of the field. Turns his shoulders, and it looks like he's expecting some help from Bowles. But if we could freeze it right about here, here's Bowles in the middle of the field, totally out of the play. And you really have to wonder if Barry Wilburn wasn't expecting Todd Bowles for some help. He just wasn't there.
From the 17-yard line, Washington 1st and 10. 2 minutes into the game, and Doug Williams to throw on first down. He doesn't often throw to his running backs, but he hits Smith here, and Smith lays a pop on Haynes, and you can hear that one quite plainly. Close to a first down.
A couple of rookies have already played a major role here as we look at this touchdown, the quickest in Super Bowl history, but Timmy Smith filling in for George Rogers, who's been hurt all year long. We're going to see a lot of him today. And he is just lucky he is here. He had surgery as a junior. He had surgery on his ankle as a senior, wearing a plate in his ankle now, and has performed well already in these playoffs.
Second down, Inches at the 27-yard line. And it's Smith to the 30. When they threw to Smith, we said it was something they don't normally do. Smith caught one pass all year for -2 yards. And George Rogers is another to whom they very rarely throw the ball. In throwing situations, they will, however, go with Kelvin Bryant in their backfield. Now the defensive line, this is their base defense with a lot of situation substitution. Mecklenburg, 77, as you all know, plays all over the field. And there's the secondary. Mark Haynes coming back and having a good year in 87 after a bad one in 86. On first down, the rookie Smith, and he could be a big man today, out to the 34-yard line. Andre Townsend makes the tackle. And for Smith, a guy who spent most of his junior and senior years in college.
And here's our old-fashioned counter gap play. McKenzie, Jacoby powering up through the hole, and if you're a running back like Timmy Smith, you just follow those blocks. Your tight end out front, Donnie Warren, and it's relatively easy when the first guy you take on is either a linebacker or a defensive back.
2nd and 5, Sanders is in motion. Williams, good protection, but throws it into the middle, and it's incomplete. Greg Cragen got a hand up on the low throw. 3rd down and 5 coming up.
Frank, there's Cragen. I talked about him at the beginning of the ball game, undersized. One of the things I've noticed early that Denver and Dan Reeves has Cragen playing about a yard off of the ball, get him away from that quick contact.
They originally wanted Townsend over the center, and their defensive end Freddie Gilbert was hurt early in the year. They tried to make this team bigger after they were beaten by the Giants a year ago, but they now are still small once again.
3rd down 5, that's Clark going in motion, coming back to the right, and out into the pattern he goes. And the pass for him is incomplete at the 40-yard line. He couldn't hold that one either. The first one, of course, on the last drive, a much simpler one to hang on to. Simon Fletcher put the pressure on, and so Washington 3 and out on their first 2 possessions.
Washington looking like a lot of teams have looked in past Super Bowls, playing very conservative offensively, and of course Denver exactly the opposite. They go right to the air, and look what they get for it, 7 quick points, and Washington's going to have to string together some first downs to keep Denver and John Elway off the field.
To be more precise, they did pick up 1 first down. Now they have to kick still from deep in their own territory for the 2nd time as Cox kicks a low one toward Kevin Clark from the 23. Out past the 30 and driven down. Jeff Bostic gets down there to make the stop. We have 11:14 remaining in the first quarter in Super Bowl 22. 7-0 Bronx. Doug Williams and the Washington Redskins, 2 possessions, 1 first down, 2 punts as he begins one of his first 4. John Elway has been in for 1 play, a 56-yard touchdown pass to Castille. And Denver comes up here with a 2 tight end set out of the shotgun. Mobley and Kay are the tight ends. With Mark Jackson in motion, Elway to the air again, takes a very deep drop, and incomplete as Jackson gets blanketed on the play. Mark Jackson covered by Darrell Green.
Elway wants it all early, putting it up in the air again. Let's go back to that touchdown toss a moment ago, and you'll see it from ground level, a good shot. You watch number 88 come off the line of scrimmage. That's Clarence Kay, the tight end. Todd Bowles looked at him long before he looked over to see Barry Wilburn, who was trying to cover Castille. And it did appear as if Wilburn thought he was going to have help on the inside. He didn't get it. Castille into the end zone.
Now Vance Johnson comes into the game for the first time. He was hurt, suffered that ruptured artery 3 weeks ago and missed the AFC Championship game. Elway over the middle. There's Jackson at the 45 into Redskin territory. Gets a block and out of bounds at the 36-yard line. Ricky Natile laid down the block to spring him even further in a 32-yard pickup.
Again, a crossing pattern, something that Denver has done so well all year long, and something about a crossing pattern. There's Jackson at the right of your screen. Now watch him make his break to the inside. It takes a long time, and we talked about the line of scrimmage and who's going to control it. Hey, right now Denver's giving John Elway all the time in the world to find receivers like Mark Jackson on a crossing pattern, and the Redskins secondary right now in a state of confusion, and the Redskins defensive line on the line of scrimmage. They're not doing much.
Two of the three amigos already with a long reception, and this is Steve Sewell who's going to throw. He throws back to Elway the other way, inside the 20, down to the 13-yard line. They ran that play on opening day in 1986 against the Raiders for a touchdown. 24 yards here. Elway to Sewell, back to John.
As Al said, they have run this play before. Here's Sewell right here. He'll come in motion, take the ball from Elway. John just flares off down the field, and Steve Sewell, even though he's from Oklahoma, has an arm. The inside handoff, and look at John Elway all by himself. That's Charles Mann in pursuit. You say, why risk a quarterback? Hey, this is a Super Bowl.
From the 13, they run a draw. Give it to Winder, and he gets about a yard. Down to the 12. The Redskins, once they get backed up, are very, very tough to score on. Elway putting his mark into the record book on that last play. He's their second leading rusher. You know what he does with his arm, and he catches as well.
He might not have a lot of marks before the Super Bowl is over if they don't put a little pressure on him. Redskins might have to start thinking about getting someone in there for Butts and Grant, which is Hamilton and Quick. Much faster defensive men.
That's Sewell in the slot and in motion now on second down from the 12-yard line. And Elway rifles it to Sewell, and he goes out of bounds at the 6-yard line. Steve Sewell, so versatile, and the Denver coach is telling us the other day he's going to be very instrumental today. Receiving, running, and they did mention throwing, and Washington already knows that. The Redskins defensively, and we'll set them up for you. It's been tough to get to these graphics because of the way Denver's gone about it at the outset. Mann and Manley, the ends, of course. The three linebackers. Coleman stays in all situations. They do a lot of situation substitution. Green, of course, is the all-pro cornerback. Meanwhile, here on third down and 3, 4 wide receivers for Denver, and Elway. He's difficult here, but not this time for Dave Butts. The thing about Elway is even when his receivers are covered, we watched him throughout the playoffs, throughout the regular season, turn that play into a game, but Butts had other ideas.
Well, I think this is a design play all the way. Here's Dave Butts, and he's just on the line of scrimmage to watch Elway. No chance to throw it. This isn't even a design throw. John Elway is going to fake the pass up on the quarterback draw. Keith Bishop pulls around, but Dave Butts back from the inside, and John Elway trying to do it all here early in the ballgame.
Rich Karlis, 24-yard field goal attempt. Gary Kubiak puts it down, and Karlis' kick is good. And so the Broncos, on a long pass to Natile, make it 7-0, and on a 24-yard field goal by Karlis, make it 10-0 with 9:09 to go in the quarter. Diego for Super Bowl 22. In the late afternoon, before 73,000, the stadium has been expanded. It normally holds 60,000 to 61,000. Extra seats put in. 10-0 Broncos, who kick off for the third time, and Sanders makes the catch at the 2. And again, he is stopped and fumbles at the 15-yard line. No signal yet from the officials. Live ball. And Bob McElwee right at the bottom of the pile.
I don't think there's any doubt that the ball came out before he hit the ground. It's just a question of who has recovered it. Believe the ball clearly out.
It's a critical question.
The
especially for the Redskins here.
It's just a fight for the ball right now. Who's got the strongest hands? The officials have no clue.
Well, the official has the ball. He's holding the football.
Oh, yeah.
Or is he? Or is that the other ball?
No, they're trying to determine who has the football because this could well change hands. It doesn't determine at the bottom of the pile.
Washington has it.
Oh. Denver with a little premature celebration there.
What happened here is that the whole Washington blocking scheme was thrown out of sync because Sanders had to catch the ball over his shoulder. And when he gets the hit from Klosterman, the ball comes loose. Oh, look at that right there. It's in a Broncos hand, and you look at that and say, how does Washington come up with the ball? But Ken Bell, somehow, one of the guys fighting for it. And what a break for the Redskins. That could have, you hate to say it at this point in time, but that could have broken their back.
Art McNally is the replay official, but there's no way on a replay you can tell who gained possession of that one. It looked as if Bell was a lock to recover it.
You certainly would need a ground level camera.
You need a gopher.
All right, let's try this again. The ball is out. No doubt that it's a fumble. You see Bell for Denver right in there, and it looked like he had an arm on it. The officials are still conferring out on the field, and I'm at somewhat of a loss as to what they're talking about.
They're obviously in communication with the replay booth. Art McNally, the head of officials for the NFL, is the replay official, as you might suspect for the Super Bowl. They were looking to see if it was a fumble to begin with. They are not looking to see who recovered. There's no way they can tell.
Yeah. Well, there's no way they're going to say that it wasn't a fumble.
Funny scene, though, when the other official came out with the ball, they were ready to put that next ball in play before they determined who had possession of the original ball.
If that official was holding the real ball, there were an awful lot of confused guys wrestling on the ground.
Meanwhile, Ricky Sanders, who had coughed up that ball, and in 3 kickoff returns, the Redskins have failed to get back out of the 20-yard line. Ricky
After
Sanders.
further review by the replay official, the play stands as called.
And so Washington takes over at its 16-yard line, and isn't that interesting? No team has won a game after trailing by more than 7. Not only that, trailing by more than 7, they've never caught up in the history of the Super Bowl and tied it.
That's really surprising.
It's amazing. From the 16, and again, Washington begins at just about the same spot. All 3 drives beginning in this territory, and Smith gets racked up by Mecklenburg for a 3-yard loss. Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside, Mr. Everywhere is Mecklenburg.
When you get up like you are right now in a football game of this importance, the last game of the season, it's like a pack of wolves. They can smell blood down there, and they start coming out of the ground, a dealing type of defense. Mecklenburg right in there, no one even touching him.
Well, I don't know what Washington has in mind right now, but they're going to seriously consider running any play they have in their playbook to get a first down. They cannot give the ball right back to the Broncos the way their defense is in retreat.
2nd and 14 from just outside the 11-yard line, and Kelvin Bryant is stopped at the 10, so they bring in Bryant, their 3rd down or 2nd and long specialist, and a man they love to throw to, and give him the ball, and he goes nowhere. Jones is there.
Rulon Jones, the guy that comes in and makes the play. Let's watch him fight through and get upfield and make the block, make the tackle rather. He's just working at the line of scrimmage, working against Raleigh McKenzie, the left guard. And I don't know if they were trying to influence block Rulon Jones or not, but nothing like turning him loose just when Kelvin Bryant arrives with the ball.
3rd and 16 from the 10-yard line. Clark in motion. And Williams fires, caught by Monk. 30, 40, and run out of bounds at the 50-yard line by Tony Lilly. Art Monk, who hasn't played because of a knee injury since early December, 40 yards.
And I think that time we saw a classic case of a cornerback, Frank, overplaying the ball. Steve Wilson.
Steve Wilson in the right corner tried to go for the interception, and Art Monk goes up, sure hands it, and he has not been in a football game since he was injured December the 6th. Just activated from the injured reserve, and he finally gets the Redskins to some kind of field position, and they needed it desperately.
And it comes on a 3rd and 16 play. So now Washington at the 50, trailing 10-0. Reverse. Sanders looks to throw and gets tackled by Ryan back at the 46-yard line.
And give a big assist to cornerback Mark Haynes, because there's no question that was going to be an attempted pass to Gary Clark. And Mark Haynes, who has played superb football over the past few weeks of the season and into the 2 playoffs, and he did a great job. He did not buy any of it. He saw Clark, who tried to slow up, tried to lure him into coming up for the tackle, and Haynes stayed with him all the way.
And where that's really a high-risk play is normally in a halfback option like that, you only send out the 1 receiver. So Haynes, in effect, snuffed the entire play.
2nd and 14. They split Bryant to the left as Kelvin lined up on the line. And over the middle and incomplete at the 28, intended for Bryant. Normally Kelvin lines up in the backfield. That time split out on the line and incomplete on the low throw. 3rd and 14.
And a risky pass that time by Doug Williams, who just barely got it over the outstretched arm of Jim Ryan, one of the linebackers on the middle of the field. And as it settled in, it hit the ground before it was able to be caught. But what did I talk about the Redskins and what they had to do? They had to get a 1st down. They had to give their defense a chance to get their breath, to compose themselves a bit. Even if they don't score points already, this is a successful drive for the Redskins.
3rd and 14 after they had converted a 3rd and 16. Clark in motion. And he fell down, and it's tipped and incomplete. He was looking for Clark at the 42-yard line. Tipped by Robbins and incomplete.
Pressure up front that time was put on by Rulon Jones. He's the guy that ends up on top. That's Jeff Bostic working in the middle against Freddie Gilbert. That part of the protection was good, but there's Jones dropping Williams to the ground, and a punting situation. Cox is in. And let's see what kind of a return Denver can get out of this.
Cox punting for the 3rd time. Kevin Clark stands back at his 15. Kevin was known recently as KC. He wants to be called Kevin. And it's a low liner that Clark fields at the 19 and brings it back out to the 28. He's tackled there by Terry Orr. So the Broncos get it again. 6:18 to go in the 1st quarter. Denver on top, 10-0 in Super Bowl 22. The Denver Broncos trying to win the Super Bowl for the 1st time ever in their 3rd appearance, having lost to Dallas 10 years ago, to the Giants in Pasadena last year, and here they are with their 3rd possession on top by a score of 10-0.
Well, Dan Reeves was true to his word. Remember when he told us they were going to come right out 1st and 10 and go right to the shotgun, and that's the look they played more than anything else against the Bears earlier this year in our Monday night game. And now the Skins have seen it in the first couple of series, and now John Elway's back under center.
From the 28-yard line, Lang, big hole, takes it out to the 40-yard line. Gene Lang tripped up by Alvin Walton, and he's close to having a 1st down, and does have it at the 39.
Everyone accuses the Broncos of not having a running game. They do have a running game. They just don't have the celebrated runners. 156 yards in the championship game against Cleveland. By the way, the last tape the Redskins watched, they're down 10-0. They watched the Broncos go down 21-3 at the half of that game, and they were also down 14-0 to the Bears. So this is far from even being close to being decided.
1st and 10, Broncos from their own 39-yard line. Lang again cuts it back, and Lang has another 1st down as he takes it across the 50 to the 48. Bowles and Coleman in on the tackle. So Denver had been doing it in the air and not doing it on the ground.
You have to wonder where the Redskin defensive team is. We've got a flag down on the field.
And Coleman down as well. Monty Coleman is hurt.
Actually, we're going to have a timeout. The clock is stopped as again we'll look at Gene Lang, and this is just a lack of pursuit by Washington. A good look at Dave Butts, who over pursued the play, and Gene Lang able to make the cut, and it looks like a lot of the Redskins defensively are having trouble following the Bronco running backs and receivers. They have changed cleats. They've gone to a longer cleat, and Gene Lang that time able to make the cut and left a lot of Redskins behind.
Monty Coleman, of course, a key member of the defensive secondary, as well as a good linebacker, a good man to have in there for anyone coming out of the backfield.
He's a very important man to have in, because so much has been made of the way Washington moves people in and out defensively. Here's one of the guys who's in on almost every play in every situation.
Good pass defender. He looks like he's all right. Probably just had the wind knocked out of him. But Dan, I know you have to be shocked and appalled, if you will, at the way the Denver Broncos offensive line is dominating the Redskins defensive line.
Well, look at the way Denver is approaching this thing offensively. I mean, the first couple of series, it's all shotgun. They get Washington back on their heels, and now they come out and go to a conventional offensive formation. Nothing fancy, slamming it in between the tackles, and now Washington has made the adjustment the other way. 17.5 yards on first down. That'll win you a ball game or two.
A 56-yard pass does help that figure a little bit, doesn't it?
Now Washington needs a play to pad their average a little bit. Less than 2 yards. Not worth much.
First down. Denver, now they go back to the shotgun, which became their base formation in the Chicago game in November. Elway stepping up, rifles it too high, intended for Castille.
But Castille has made a believer out of Wilburn. Wilburn laying way off. Now watch Manley again, and Dan's been talking about it. Number 70 is Dave Studdard. This time Manley at least penetrates a little bit. Studdard has been handling throughout the game, however.
Well, Studdard that time had a nice handful of jersey on Dexter, but it's not the kind of holding that's impeding his progress. You'll rarely see the flag thrown on something like that, but Dexter Manley hasn't surfaced as a factor so far in this ballgame.
Shotgun, and with Elway out of the shotgun, he has Sewell and Bodie with him, and Sewell takes a little shovel to the 30-yard line.
Oh boy, what a great time to call that play. Dexter Manley all fired up. He turns on a full afterburner, sprinted across the line of scrimmage, and threw the ball right inside on a shovel pass.
Well, here's what's beautiful. Here's Dexter Manley. Watch him go upfield. The Broncos don't even block him. Here comes the shovel pass inside Manley, but Dexter's never even blocked. Just let the guy go upfield, takes himself out of the ball play. I mean, out of the play, and it just happens all by itself.
He had to think, I'm going to wipe out Elway. It was an absolutely perfect call. Playing not only against the physical part of Manley, but against his head. And
if you're Manley right now, your head's spinning. You're thoroughly confused.
And timeout is called. Coleman has come back in the game for Washington. That outside backer, and as Elway looks it over on first down from the 30, he'll take a timeout. That little shovel is a completed forward pass. So John up and over the 100-yard mark here in the first period with still 4:20 to play in the quarter.
A couple of those snouts may go into hiding if Washington doesn't pick it up here a little bit. Those things will be selling for a severe discount after the ball game if Washington's defense isn't able to dig itself in right here and make a stand.
First down, Denver at the 30-yard line. Sewell lines up as the running back in this set. Jackson comes in motion. Fake pitch to Sewell. Elway slipping and sliding and incomplete. Intended for Kay, but he was able to buy time, avoid the rush. Still incomplete, though, at second down.
Denver is not doing anything they're supposed to be doing. That time it was going to be a pass all the way back across the field to Sewell. Now, top of your screen, we've been talking about Manley. Here's Charles Mann. He is totally befuddled.
And remember, we told you how more often than not when John moves, he moves in the direction of Charles Mann. And look at the job that Kenny Lanier did that time working against Charlie Mann. Okay, granted, he gets in on that play late, but it's all over by then. Good job that time by Ken Lanier.
Mann in that game last year, sacking Elway 3 times. The only player to ever do that in one game.
That was last year.
And won by Denver, 31-30.
Second and 10. Elway again gets good protection, and the pass is picked off by Wilburn at the 18-yard line, but no, they say incomplete. What? Incomplete.
I was going to say, that sure looked like a trap from here. again, John Elway, and you know that's the second time we've seen it recently where he's overthrown his guy. That time going for Sewell, and he really let loose with that baby. That thing left a vapor trail.
Missed Sewell earlier, missed Castille. Let's take a look again. Here's Sewell coming across. He was wide open, and Walton is trying to stay with him, but you don't see Elway overthrow a man like that. And there is the trap downfield. Coming up 3rd and long.
3rd down and 10. 3 receivers split to the right, 1 to the left. And Castille in motion. 3rd and 10. Elway takes a 17-yard drop and a big sack. Alvin Walton, the safety man, sacks him back at the 49-yard line.
And that was a relatively lucky sack by Alvin Walton, who starts clear on the line of scrimmage, clear to the opposite side of the play. Frank, he was lost in there.
I wouldn't call him a spy, would you?
No, I wouldn't call it. Look at Alvin Walton
around and found him.
Look at him moving there. I don't think he even knows where John Elway is. He'll move clear to the outside, and in essence, Elway gets flushed out by man and runs right into Alvin Walton. But that's the play that the Redskin defensive team had to come up with. Boy, did they need that.
18-yard sack. Mike Horan cornering it and putting it out of bounds near the 15-yard line. They'll line it up. And they'll mark it at the 16-yard line, which is very familiar territory for Washington. It's the 4th time they've begun a drive from just about the same spot.
Fine punt, and Washington deep in their own territory once again. And there is Walton. He is one of the big hitters. And Richie Pettibone, the defensive coordinator of the Redskins, told us the other day he would like to see Alvin Walton get a few shots at John Elway because he's one of your basic big hitters.
16-yard line. That's Clint Didier, who splits wide left and Warren in motion. And the pass is caught by Sanders. And Ricky takes it out to the 24-yard line. Shy of the first down by about 2 or 3. Ryan and Haynes in on the stop as Richie Pettibone talks it over with his defense.
Kind of a change of pace for Washington there, with it being the tight end Warren in motion rather than Clint Didier. Normally Didier is the move guy, but that's the way I think they've got to get offensively here. Conservative, do it 6, 7, 8 yards at a time.
2nd down and 2 from just inside the 25. Smith, 30, 40, and the rookie takes it to the 50-yard line, dragged down by Lilly. And so Rogers is on the bench, and Smith, who gained more yardage in 2 postseason games than through all of the regular season, will see that nullified by a penalty. A 25-yard gain going down the drain.
That really hurts. That would have put some life back into that Redskins offense.
Holding, number 85, offense, 2nd down.
Well, Don Warren, the tight end who was at the point of attack, the play came right in behind him, the guy that got flagged for the penalty. And as Frank said, boy, that talk about sticking a pin in a balloon, that'll deflate you in a hurry.
Don Warren, one of the fine blockers on this Redskins unit. There he is, top of the screen.
Here's Don Warren right here. Let's watch his block at the line of scrimmage and see if we can pick it up. It's on initially. He comes down on the linebacker, and you can see the left hand. Got that left arm hooked, and that'll bring the call every time from the sideline.
Makes it 2nd and 11 now from the 15-yard line. And dropped again. This time by Sanders. Clark has already dropped a couple as well. Skins would have had it 1st down at the 50. Instead, 3rd and 12 at the 15.
George Rogers has been really beaten up this year. Dislocated toe earlier in the year, separated shoulder, groin injury, and an ankle injury in the championship game against Minnesota. We thought we might see a little bit of him on short yardage, but so far it's been all Timmy Smith.
And right now, Kelvin Bryant on 3rd and long, 3rd and a dozen from the 15. Three-man rush and a lot of time, and then over the middle is Bryant, wide open, has scrambles the first down, takes it out to the 35-yard line. So the Broncos sent only 3, and then Bryant hanging around near the line and got free over the middle, first down.
3 wide receivers for the Redskins, and it was Doug Williams looking deep downfield, and it was Bryant with no blitz, just slipping out of the backfield after he had looked to make sure nobody was coming, and he was just standing there right in the face of Doug Williams when he needed him. Here's Williams looking to go deep. Nothing over there. Looks over here. There's Bryant right in his face where he should be.
To the 35 he goes, and on 1st and 10. Slipping down is Williams, and he gets sacked at the 24-yard line. Play whistle dead, and he's hurt.
He might be hurt.
Up.
Did you see him twist his leg when he went down? And Doug Williams has got to have a sore leg. Boy, did he have his one leg in there at an awkward angle.
He just slipped on his own. We've seen a lot of that now. Dexter Manley earlier in the game was slipping. The field must be extraordinarily soft because the Redskins defensive unit, as we told you, went back and changed to larger cleats, and now we have just seen Doug Williams slip and go down, and Jay Schrader's going to come in.
So here comes Schrader. The timeout is called, and Williams is back down on the turf.
Did you see him drop back to pass? He took a funny little glide step. Here, let's take a good look at it from the reverse angle. Now watch it. He rather than just, he goes to plant, and you get just a perfect view of it. His right foot on the instep just slid all the way out from underneath him. And Frank, more often than not, that's where a guy pulls a groin when that right leg, again from behind. Watch him go to plant his right foot.
Cleats never grabbed at all. You can see it. The right foot going right there. No grip at all. That could be a hamstring. It could be a knee. We won't speculate. They look at him right now. But he really stretched out that right leg.
Let's look at that again. What about, nobody touched him and the ball came flying out of that. Guys, can we take another look at that thing? Let's watch this again. I'm so intent on looking at his leg. Let's watch the football. I mean, this isn't.
He's down, but had anyone touched him?
He wasn't down by contact.
No,
this isn't college
contact.
football.
That was a free football.
This isn't college ball. He's got to be down by contact. Doug Williams kind of spit that ball out, and that's a free ball.
Yeah, I think they got caught up in the concern over Doug Williams, and
now let's see.
The ball is loose there. There's no contact been made. That ball is loose. Rulon Jones has it.
I have sympathy for an injured player, but Doug Williams just laid the ball down, and that's another break for the Redskins.
Well, they get one bad break and one good break. Williams out, Schrader in, 2nd down and 20 from the 24-yard line. So the once and future Redskin quarterback gets sacked himself back at the 15-yard line by Mecklenburg.
The Rover.
Did you see him? He looked like Edwin Moses. Now that's the way you hurdle a blocker.
What the Broncos love to do. They put him on the outside, put Ryan on the inside, and turn him loose.
I want you to watch Karl Mecklenburg. Let's roll this tape, guys, if we could. Watch the top of the screen. He's going to take a jump from right up at the top. There's Karl. He's coming into the picture now. Kelvin Bryant goes too low, and that's Edwin Moses, if you ask me.
And winning another one.
The high hurdles. 3rd down and 28 at the 17-yard line. Schrader, 3-man rush, dumps it over the middle, dropped by Bryant. A 4th drop pass. So for Washington, a series on which it looked like they got to midfield, but a penalty brought it back. They lose Williams. They're pinned deep in their own territory, and now will have to kick again. And with 41 seconds to play in the quarter, they're down 10-0.
Usually very sure-handed. Kelvin Bryant over the middle again. Schrader looking deep again. Bryant just a checkoff man. Had yards. He might have been able to pick up the 1st down. Takes his eyes off it, drops the football, and the Redskins will have to punt.
Cox to kick again. Already 4 punts in the quarter. Clark to receive. Bostic snap is a good one. And the kick is a short one, but takes a good bounce for Washington and is down to about the 40-yard line. Meanwhile, Williams up and walking around, trying to work it out. The replay booth is saying when Williams dropped to his knee at that particular point on that play in which we talked about, was it or was it not a fumble, he was, in essence, according to the rules, giving himself up, and the play was over. That's the way it's interpreted by them.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll buy that, I guess.
What page is that on?
I'm going to look that one up.
Shotgun, Denver, 44-yard line. Elway going out of bounds. The intended receiver was Sammy Winder. Penalty marker down.
And we may get a roughing the passer call against Washington. John Elway went down late.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 52 defense. 15 yards, automatic first down.
Okowitz on the blitz.
Yeah, Neal came late. He was clear on the play. And this time right up the middle, Neal Okowitz. And remember how they changed the rule this year, Frank? You don't get 2 steps at the quarterback anymore. You only get 1.
And this was awful close. Elway delivering the ball. And there it is. Okowitz, who is in full stride. You see that in slow motion. I don't know about that.
Oh, I think that's roughing all the way. That's a good call. I mean, he's not even in the picture.
Looking at it in slow motion it is, but you see it in full speed. Could he have pulled up? Maybe he could have pulled up and eased up on it a little.
Okowitz isn't that fast.
He was there.
Denver at the 41-yard line. First quarter winding down. 26 seconds to play in the period. Broncos on top 10-0. First and 10. Winder, Grant, and others in on the tackle. Grant and Olkowitz leading the charge. And that should be the final play of the period. The report from the bench, a hyper-flexed knee is the report we get from the Washington bench on Williams, but he is expected back next series as soon as they get the ball back. As the first quarter comes to an end here in San Diego at Super Bowl 22, Denver leads 10-0, and we'll be back after this message. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf. Second quarter, Super Bowl 22. Doug Williams expected back in the next time Washington has the football. But for right now, as we start the second quarter, 2nd and 10, Broncos out of the shotgun from the Washington 42-yard line. Lang and Sewell in the backfield with Elway. Sewell goes out into the pattern. And the pass is incomplete, intended for Ricky Natillo, covered by Darrell Green. Broncos coming out, scoring on their first play, adding a field goal, and there are the numbers through the first period.
You look at the total yards for Denver, 142 yards. You add that up by 4 times, and you come up with an amazing offensive afternoon.
Keep Steve Hurt busy down there. The computer's smoking.
What happened to this feeling out process that's supposed to take place in a Super Bowl game?
This man has changed the name of that.
Knockout punch. 3rd down and 10. At the 42, Washington showing blitz. But everything is picked up, and they wind up sending only 4, and Elway.
Well, hey, Al, that's a free play for Denver, too, because Charlie Mann was offsides on the play. I saw an official on the sideline flip his flag, and I think that's a free play for Denver. I don't think that sack's going to count.
Against the Skins.
I think Charles Mann's the guy.
You saw a quick look at Alvin Walton, who Richie Pettibone said is his big hitter on that team.
Offside, number 71, defense, 3rd down.
Got to be a little frustrated, man and Manley, and that's probably what happened here. Off the line of scrimmage, they have been so far a non-factor in this game on both sides.
Remember when we talked to Dexter a couple days ago? He told us his biggest worry was about John Elway's hard count, how loud he was on his snap count, and right there a good illustration of how it got Charles Mann to come off sides. John's very loud in calling his signal.
3rd down and 5 from the 37. Little shovel to Bodie, loose ball and incomplete. Dexter Manley popping him, so a little shovel which worked earlier with Sewell doesn't work here. Bodie dropping it. Tony Bodie released on several occasions by Denver. Back with him.
A little different play that time on the part of Mann over on the left side. Also on the part of the linebacker on that left side, Kaufman. They did not go for any kind of a sweep to the outside, the shovel inside, and they had the whole thing jammed up.
Green drops back deep along with Eric Yarber. So Washington drops 2 back. Mike Horan standing at the 50-yard line. And he'll try to angle it to the far side. And does. And into the end zone. A little too far. So back it comes to the 20 with 14-17 to play in the half. Broncos on top, 10-0. Doug Williams back at the helm at the 20-yard line. His team down 10-0. But John Elway, the story of the first quarter, the other quarterback.
Very first play, touchdown shot, 56 yards to Ricky Nattiel. A lot of protection for Elway. Right in stride, Nattiel taking it in. He's been busy, Dan.
He has, and I think John Elway has been getting a lot more help from his teammates, and Doug Williams has been getting from his Redskin teammates.
Just a little later on, the handoff. He turns into a receiver, wide open, and takes it deep into Redskin territory again. Try to draw a little later on. He's been very busy.
So the Broncos show the whole playbook in the first quarter. Lead 10-0. And Washington now at the 20-yard line. Their first possession of the second period. And Williams going deep. Sanders beats Haynes. Sanders out in front. 80 yards, touchdown.
Hello, sports fans.
Whoa. Doug Williams right on stride with Sanders.
And that is nothing more than bump and run coverage that time by Mark Haynes on Ricky Sanders, and he got smoked.
Mark Haynes playing him tough right up front. Mark Haynes, who we talked about earlier, has played superb football over the past few games. Let Sanders get by him, and it is goodbye. And how quickly you can get back into a football game. Great shot by Doug Williams on his very first play after going out with that injury. Hit him right in stride.
Ali Haji Sheikh for the extra point. 53 seconds into the second quarter. Schrader puts it down. And just a few minutes ago, Washington down by 10. Williams out of the game, punting from deep in their own territory. Now it's 10-7.
Off the bench, Doug Williams out for a couple plays, and Ricky Sanders does a number on Mark Haynes, and Williams is perfect. And if you like a good football game, boy, did we need this. 10-7. We'll be right back.
Joe Gibbs, whose career started with a big fizzle. He was 0-5 in his first 5 games as the Redskins head coach in '81. But since, a whole other story. And Dan Reeves, who has watched his team break out to a 10-0 advantage, but now on an 80-yard pass play, it's 10-7. And Washington to kick off. Cox puts it in the air. Ken Bell takes it in the end zone. He'll come out 10 and banged down at the 17-yard line. Hit by Dean Hamill.
Let's look at that touchdown at the line of scrimmage. Watch Mark Haynes with the left hand. Hey, the first thing they tell you in this game, if you're going to take a shot at somebody, you better hit him. That time Haynes went for Sanders with the left hand and missed him, barely grazed him.
So a record tie here, and on first down, moving straight ahead is Gene Lang out to the 21-yard line for a pickup of 3. 2nd and 7 coming up as Lang comes out of the game and Sewell replaces him. .13:30, and that camera mounted on the goalpost, giving you that look. There it is. 2nd and 7 from the 21-yard line. Sewell in motion. Pressure put on by Manley and off Winder's hands. And Manley very much made his presence felt on that one.
Boy, and did he just blow around the left tackle, Dave Studdard. And he also finished that play smart, Frank, by not hitting John Elway. Here's Dexter Manley at the top of the screen working on Studdard. Watch him go right around him. Dexter at the top coming in, and for some reason Dave Studdard never even got out of his stance. But here's a smart play by Dexter, pulling up and not laying a hand, a hard hand on John Elway.
Think he wanted to?
You know he did, and that's a smart football play.
On 3rd and 7, Elway has thrown 5 incompletions in a row now. He's 4 of 11 in the game. And he slings one and is lucky it wasn't picked off by Monty Coleman.
That's a bullet there. He did not even see Monty Coleman coming across from his right linebacking position, trying to get the ball downfield to Winder. Look again now. Elway following the receiver, Sewell, across the middle. Does not see Coleman. There's Coleman. And ever so close to the interception. Now the Broncos will have to punt. The Redskins should get the field position.
Mike Horan to do the booting, and Darrell Green stands back at his own 37-yard line.
You sense a subtle change here?
Absolutely.
Not so subtle.
Green, having trouble, makes the catch. And then gets buried at the 36. He was looking at the sideline to see where he was. It was fortunate to hold on to the ball. Tackled by Bell. 12:59 remaining in the half. Hillside outside San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium. Those are cement mixers forming the Roman numerals for Super Bowl 22 in the preferred parking area. And that view provided by the Goodyear Blimp, captained by Nick McAlery from El Toro, California. And the Goodyear Blimp has hovered above just about every Super Bowl. A little difficult though when it's played in places like the Superdome and the Silverdome.
It's a good place to hover above.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Washington now taking over at its own 36-yard line. First quarter held to 63 yards, and then the 80-yard pass from Williams to Sanders. Sanders goes in motion on first down. Williams over the middle, finds the tight end. It's Don Warren, who's normally the blocking tight end. Doesn't catch that many passes. In fact, he caught only 7 during the regular season, and he's coming home. He's out of San Diego State.
And you know he desperately wanted to catch a ball here. I mean, this is the field where Donnie played college football, and that's the one he just had to get under his belt. At least he's got one. That's a full day's work for Don Warren. He doesn't figure into their passing scheme at all.
Clint Didier is more of the receiving tight end. Warren lines up slot left now on second and a long yard. And bursting through the middle, Smith to the 35-yard line, stopped by Dennis Smith. No relation.
And that's what Don Warren does the best. He comes in motion and makes the trap. Key block.
That's exactly right. Good spot, Frank. Don Warren is off to the right side of our screen. He's going to come in here and make the trap. Let's take a look at this. Timmy Smith is going to set it up. There's Warren in motion. Comes in and makes the trap on Cragen. And Smith, alertly cutting behind him, is into the secondary.
19-yard pickup, first down, Washington at the 36. Smith again stopped at the 35-yard line. Bobby Beathard, the Washington GM, who really excels in those middle and low round draft choices, saw enough of Smith, even though Smith had torn his knee up as a junior, had fractured and dislocated his ankle as a senior. Bobby had seen enough to say he's worth the draft choice. And here he came in round 5. And there are his numbers. More yardage gained in postseason than in the regular season. He comes out in this set with Bryant in on second down and 9 from the 35. And it's Kelvin Bryant slipping to the outside. Tackled by Dennis Smith at the 29-yard line and Steve Wilson.
Both offensive linemen who were going to be in front of that play, R.C. Tillman and Mark May, both fell down, and Kelvin Bryant still picks up yardage. This is unbelievable. Both guys fall down who are supposed to be Bryant's lead blockers. Look at the right tackle, the right guard. Watch them both pull to get in front of Bryant, and both go to the turf. Slip, slip, down they go, and Kelvin Bryant still gets outside the defense. Not so good, guys in the orange jerseys.
Third down, short 2, long 1 from the 28. Williams for Clark. Touchdown.
Great protection for Doug Williams.
Joe Collier, the defensive coordinator, took a chance, Frank, came with the blitz and ended up with man coverage.
Look at the protection. That, of course, will give you that man-for-man coverage. It's Steve Wilson. He wasn't close, and Doug Williams was right on the money, making sure that Wilson would not get into the play. Let him a little long. It was a diving catch, a good catch.
Ali Haji Sheik for the extra point. Redskins have the lead. Williams having the type of second quarter he had in Chicago 3 weeks ago.
The single coverage necessitated by the blitz, and a perfect spiral from Doug Williams to Clark. Wilson totally out of the play, and down 10-0. Washington comes storming back.
The Washington Redskins, 2 quick touchdowns, have overtaken the Broncos 14-10. Second quarter, 10:15 left in the half in San Diego.
It'll be another week before that guy realizes the 49ers aren't even here.
Maybe longer than that. Steve Cox booming it.
Whoa.
And down in the end zone by Ken Bell. Broncos now come out to their own 20-yard line.
Interesting numbers on this man. Look at that. 3rd down and 1 for the season. It only passed twice before in that situation. And Joe Collier, the defensive coach of the Denver Broncos, knows that Gibbs likes to go against their own tendencies.
What did he tell us? We spent all week practicing against things we won't even see. And here against the blitz, Doug Williams in that exact same situation where they run all the time, goes to the air and gets a 27-yard touchdown.
Broncos trailing for the first time in the game at their own 20-yard line. Vance Johnson split left. And Elway on a little shovel. Winder, 30, 40, to the 45-yard line. Second time they've gotten a big gain off that play. The other time the shovel was to Sewell. Bowles makes the tackle.
And it went to the other side of the field where Dexter Manley was the unblocked guy, and this time they allowed Charles Mann and Monty Coleman both to come upfield unblocked.
They caught him on a blitz. It couldn't be better. Look at the bottom of your screen. 71 and 51. They're on the blitz. They come through. They think they got the great shot at Elway. They do that, but inside is a shovel pass, and the first down is out over the 45-yard line.
Talk about sacrificing your body. That's what John Elway did there.
1st and 10 with Mobley in motion. Inside give, Winder.
Ball's out.
Over the 50. No, they say it was down. Line judge coming right in to say no fumble. Jack Fetty making the call. Sammy Winder taking the ball into Washington territory, and we've got a call now from McElwee.
You be the judge. Here's Sammy Winder. Has the ball firmly in his possession at this point. Let's watch the knees. Yeah, that's going to be a call that ruled down by the official, and there's no way replay is ever going to overturn that. Good call that time, I think, by Jack Fetty, the man on the spot.
And that's what McElwee said to the crowd. Second down, 3 from the 47. Elway has it tipped, incomplete. Batted by Dave Butts, I believe. 3rd down.
All of a sudden, a little more pressure, however, on Elway. That time, Manley was close. Mann was close. And, of course, that's what Joe Gibbs was hoping for coming into this game, that his 2 men on the outside would be the dominant figures defensively against Elway on the pass rush and also the containing. to not let him out of that pocket.
On 3rd and 3, they go to 4 wide receivers with Bodie in the backfield alongside Elway. And even Bodie goes out. Manley can't make the sack. Elway has a lot of open field. And out of bounds at the 26-yard line.
On the move, nobody's better.
So elusive. He's big, 6'3", over 210. Manley is a very agile defensive end. Elway just glides a little bit to the left. Here he comes, almost offsides. Recovered. Gets around. Well, actually, comes in freewheeling. Elway just slides to the outside. Manley with the full afterburner turned on, and down the sideline he goes. He was looking downfield. There was a receiver there, but he could see he was going to get about 25 or 30 out of it.
But Frank, I mean, just keep in mind what we just saw. We saw a quarterback get away from an unblocked man and barely even nicked. And I mean, Dexter Manley's no slug. I mean, we're talking about an all-pro defensive end who had a clear shot and got absolutely nothing.
Elway, 1st and 10, gives it to Winder, and Dave Butts is right there. Dave Butts, a teammate of Dan Dierdorf's with the Cardinals in the early 70s. Contract problems. Washington picked him up. What a career. 14 years.
And it's just remarkable when you look at David and you see him in the locker room. You just would never believe that he's a man his age. It's played 14 years in this league. He's lighter than he's been in years. He's actually right about the 300-pound mark. And Joe Gibbs told us that Dave Butts has had one of his best, if not his best year on the line of scrimmage. He's a remarkable athlete and some kind of special guy to perform at that level at this age.
2nd and 10 from the 26-yard line. Elway fires, and it's incomplete. Steve Sewell dropped it. Covered by Brian Davis and Clarence Vaughn.
And Studdard is holding his left leg. The man who has been tagged to handle Dexter Manley here for the Denver Broncos, and it is Dave Studdard who is down for the Broncos.
And this is big trouble for Denver if Dave Studdard can't continue. Let's look at the matchup, see if we can see where David gets hurt. This is Dave Studdard. This is Dexter Manley. These two go one-on-one. They've been doing it all game. Dexter taking the outside rush. They lock up right there, and let's see if we can follow what happens. And so far, it's an effective job by Studdard of riding Dexter by. Boy, and I think
when he planted it just before he went down, it just went out on its own. They were looking at the left knee.
Really difficult to see anything happening there. That's all it could have been from his own weight. A veteran up front and a guy who so far this game I think has been playing superbly against Dexter Manley.
The Broncos, the offensive line to begin with, I don't want to say suspect, but they've had to do a lot of things with Bill Bryan hurt earlier in the year. They went to Mike Freeman, who was a replacement player. There was some question even as to the status of Stephon Humphreys, the guard coming in. He was banged up in practice the other day to the extent that they were thinking about activating Jim Juriga. And now, at least for the moment, they're going to lose Dave Studdard.
And I think the guy that's going to come in now will be Keith Karts, number 72.
So Karts, who grew up in this area, comes in. Third and 10 from the 26-yard line. Elway stops and fires, and incomplete. Threw it behind Vance Johnson. Green covering.
Design play all the way, getting Elway to the outside, and I think it's obvious by the look on John's face that he expected Vance Johnson to make a move away from John. Gave me the impression of a guy who thought that ball went exactly where he threw it. Vance Johnson wasn't where John Elway expected him to be, though.
Those receivers usually so reliable, sliding in. When John starts to move, they slide to the open spot.
Rich Karlis now. This will be a 43-yard attempt. Gary Kubiak, the backup quarterback to Elway, to hold.
Well, he hooked that one, didn't he?
out of the stadium.
And a little tussle. Karlis, who missed a couple last year against New York.
Marcus Cook, one of the guys involved there, I think. But the fact of the matter is, the field goal was no good.
And so the Bronco drive bogs down. Karlis misses. And Washington has it now at the 26-yard line with 7:18 remaining in the first half. First quarter belonging to Denver, second quarter belonging to Washington. Again, when you take a look at Washington in the playoffs, they've not been very good on a sustained basis in either of their playoff games, but they put together 2 good drives against Chicago, 2 good drives against Minnesota, and that was good enough from the 26-yard line. Williams throws over the middle, wide open. Clark and Wilson makes the tackle out at the 41-yard line. 16-yard pickup.
You know, Doug Williams is not a high percentage passer normally. He's normally below 50%, and this time working across the middle. Look at him survey the entire field, starting at his right and coming back, and Gary Clark just wide open on the play. But some kind of afternoon so far for Doug Williams. His passing numbers are excellent. We're going to take a look at him after this play, because I want to tell you something about some drops if you plug in there, what kind of percentage he's got.
He's thrown for 210 yards, and Smith wide open. 40, 30, inside the 20. Timmy Smith going down the sideline. Timmy Smith is in there.
The same old play that the Redskins run over and over. They call it counter gap, and here they go with that play, and Timmy Smith gets touchdown number 1.
Clint Didier with the block that springs Timmy Smith. We asked Timmy Smith about his speed. Said, I used to be 4'4", then the surgery twice. Now I'm about 4'6". Watch Didier, top of your screen.
There go the 2 linemen.
There he is, cleans it out.
Mackenzie Jacoby up through the hole, and Timmy Smith just outran Tony Lilly, who had the angle, but just too slow to take advantage.
Didn't say I'm about 4'6" now. He was about 4'4" there.
The kick was good by Haji Sheik. Timmy Smith, 58 yards out of Texas Tech, and this has the makings of the Super Bowl we've been waiting 22 years for.
Interesting at the draft as we look again. Watch number 86 right behind the quarterback, Williams. Gets the key block coming around the corner. It's McKenzie, and down went Dennis Smith, and here comes Timmy Smith. He was telling us about when he was drafted. He went to sleep during the draft, and they woke him up and said you were taken by the Washington Redskins in the 5th round. And he said, why by the Redskins? They have George Rogers, they have Kelvin Bryant, and here's the race against Tony Lilly. And this is just enough for Timmy Smith to get it into the end zone.
And if you're a coach like Dan Reeves, you expect your free safety to be able to overtake a running back the size of Timmy Smith. That time, Timmy Smith showing a little more speed than people thought, and Tony Lilly showing a little less than he needed.
What a great story this young man is.
Here's a guy who has gained more, as we've stated, in postseason than all of the regular season. If Reggie Jackson is Mr. October, Smith is Mr. January.
126 yards during the regular season. Now he's really adding him on. He had 138 coming in.
Cox to kick off. 21-10. Washington on top. One hopper. Bell on the run from the 4. And Kenny Bell gets cracked down at the 21-yard line, and you heard Clarence Vaughn make the tackle. And Hamill gets into it along with Kay.
Well, Hamill, one of the guys in there putting the shots on things. Boy, you could hear that crack.
You know,
clearly up here in the booth.
One of the things that we have never been really able to capture in television, that is, you know, Dan, how it sounds down there. It sounds like bombs going off all the time. You really heard that one.
Super Bowl record, most points in the quarter. 49ers, Chicago, and now Washington.
We still have over 6 minutes left in this quarter.
All done in the 80s. Washington on top by 11. So Denver now from the 21-yard line. Lang takes it out to the 24-yard line. Denver coming out as if they were going to blow Washington out of here, with Elway connecting with Castille, and then the field goal to make it 10-0, and then the near turnover at the 15. That's Pat Bolin in the shadows there, the owner of the Denver Broncos.
Why has Denver gone out of the shotgun on first down? They had so much success with it on their first couple of drives. On first down, they went back to normal. Now they're getting back in it here on second down, but if I was these guys, I'd run that on first down as well.
Second down and 8, and Elway going deep for Vance Johnson, not even close. And Manley and Elway go down together. Wilburn and Bowles covered on the play. Vance Johnson, subject of much conjecture prior to the game, the ruptured artery sustained against Houston on the hit by Grimsley. Then he missed the championship game against Cleveland. And frankly, the Broncos telling us as late as yesterday, Vance running at about 80%. Elway came out blazing. And now ice cold. 2 for his last 11. 3rd and 8. Shotgun from the 23.
Here comes a blitz.
And he fires it to the near side. It's caught at the 31-yard line. It's Steve Sewell, but he appears to be short of the first down. He has to get to the 32-yard line.
And that is a mistake of sorts by Sewell. If he didn't get to the marker, there's no use in running that pattern if you don't get to the marker and pick up a first down. I mean, a good effort and everything else, Frank, but hey, you got to have the necessary yardage for a first down.
And unusual for Steve Sewell. Good receiver. He knew where he had to go. Elway under pressure from that blitz. And defensive Sewell had to lead him back to the sidelines. He had to release it before he wanted to, and under the pressure of that blitz.
Now, I will say this in Sewell's defense. When you looked at it from the end zone, when you saw that ball and the way that it was tailing away, he may not have had much choice. That may not have been the best of throws that time by John Elway.
Agreed. Mike Horan to punt. High wobbly kick. Darrell Green won't have a chance to run it back. And it's a short kick that winds up going out of bounds at the 40-yard line. 29-yard kick by Horan. 4:34 remaining in the half. And then 1st and 10 from the 39-yard line. Williams too high for Sanders, nearly picked off by Haynes. Second down.
Well, it's been a while since Doug Williams has thrown an incomplete pass. That one just got away from him a little bit, a little high, intended for Ricky Sanders. And Mark Haynes, if he could have laid out for that ball, might have had a real chance at it. And you know, I've seen better efforts to make an interception than that one right there. That was Mark Haynes isn't going to appreciate that, but that was a pretty weak effort on Mark Haynes' part, rather.
Bryant in the game, second down and 10. Over the middle, Sanders. And he has a first down as he wriggles his way across the 50-yard line. Ryan and Smith in on the tackle, and the clock keeps ticking with 4:15 to play in the first half.
Good move by Sanders. He knew exactly where he was. He looked to the right. He thought he might try to get big yardage out of it, knew that he couldn't, and he dived for the first down right at midfield.
Different series here if Mark Haynes comes up with that interception.
1st and 10. Fake to Smith. Williams deep for Sanders again. Makes the catch at the 10. Touchdown.
Oh.
Tony Lilly, the free safety. His not being one of the faster free safeties in the game is really starting to rear its ugly head here for Denver.
Denver missing an injured Mike Harden, now with a broken arm in the championship game, the playoff game against Houston. And Lilly's in there. He does not have the speed. We saw that a little bit earlier. And watch Ricky Sanders. Straight down the field, not even a move. He just turned on the speed. Lilly trying to fly with him. No chance. He was beaten 3 or 4 yards. And Williams again, just absolutely perfect on target.
You see all the misdirection up at the line of scrimmage. Froze everybody defensively for Denver.
Haji for the extra point. Super Bowl record, most points in the quarter. 28 now for Washington. And still 3:42 to play in the half. 50 yards for Sanders, who has now caught 4, 2 touchdowns, 149 yards receiving for Sanders.
It's just motion. Watch Sanders come all the way across the formation, down and then up, and then it's just a foot race. But watch guards pull, backs fake. The whole thing in the middle is what freezes everything for Denver defensively. Watch the motion up front.
But Dan, Lilly was locked up with him, and he should have seen him all the way. He did get caught in there. He was looking, staring into the backfield, and should have not been trapped by that movement back there. Got a late start, and it was all over as Ricky Sanders just outraced him.
All year long, we've seen motion confuse people, and that time, again, motion by Washington, maybe more than any other team, worked to their benefit.
Well, it's a Quinella that Denver's not proud of, but Cleveland scored on 4 consecutive possessions 2 weeks ago in the championship game in the second half. And the Skins have now scored on 4 consecutive possessions, and Cleveland, were it not for the Biner fumble, would have scored on 5 in a row, or 5 out of 6 anyway at that point.
Yeah, if you took the second half of their game last week and put it with the first 2 weeks ago, rather, and put it with the first half of this game, you don't have much of an effort by the Bronco defense.
So it's 28-10, a game that looked like it might be a Denver rout about an hour ago. It is now an 18-point Washington advantage. And Bell downs it in the end zone. So the Broncos take over at their own 20 with 3:37 left in the half. And the Broncos, remember, used a timeout early on when they led 10-0, so they have 2 remaining in the half.
Big order for the Denver Broncos and John Elway, and one of the key factors is that Dave Studdard stays out of the ball game, and perhaps the best pass rusher for the Redskins, Dexter Manley, is now teamed up against Keith Karts, the first-year man over the left side out of California. And there is Dave Studdard with the sprained knee, and he is very doubtful, as you can see. But Manley, you know, is going to be licking his chops out there.
And I think a good look there. Here's Sammy Winder
on a draw, and he has the first down and pays the price as he gets it out to the 33-yard line, hit by Todd Bowles.
And a good call against Manley, who had his ears laid back, was coming on the pass rush. You come at the draw, and you get an easy block by Karts to turn him to the outside and get big yardage.
Gain of 13 yards. Denver first down on the 33.
First down, Denver now at the 33. Winder, steady would be the adjective for him. It's been the way his career has gone. Not spectacular, just steady. Here he is again, steadily churning forward for about 6 to the 40-yard line, stopped by Kaufman and Walden. Winder out of Southern Mississippi, a guy who has never averaged 4 yards a carry through his career, and that's quite unusual for a man normally considered to be your featured running back.
Like I said earlier, that's not because he was averaging 5 or 6 yards a carry either. His career has been spent down in the 3s, but hey, he's still productive.
2nd and 4, and Elway going for Castille, covered by Wilburn, and picked off at the 21-yard line.
Barry Wilburn bitterly disappointed that he didn't make the Pro Bowl for the NFC, even though he led the conference with 9 interceptions. That time plays it beautifully, and frankly, that's just a pass that John Elway should have never let go. Ricky Castille wasn't open at all, Frank.
And it was man for man. The Redskins play it about 80% of the time. And great position by Wilburn. Went up, battled for it. Castille could have maybe given it a little bit of an effort, but it was perfect position by Wilburn.
From a cornerback standpoint, you just can't play it any better than that. Perfect positioning.
You can't underthrow that ball when your receiver is being that well covered either.
And for Wilburn, he very much mirrors what's happened to Washington in the second quarter vis-a-vis the first. First period, first Denver play, he gets burned by Castille. Then he comes back And with the interception here, gives them the ball back with 2:14 to play in the half. And they're taking a look now.
They might be trying to figure out if he had his feet in bounds.
Yep, in or out of bounds. That could be the reason for the conference, and obviously the replay booth is looking at it.
Well, this is the angle to tell from the end zone. Barry Wilburn going up for the ball. Left foot. Down. Right foot. Down. The question is whether the toe was on the line. And I don't know, with the official right on the spot, how you could be in any better positioning than we saw right there by the line judge, Al Jury, the back judge. I don't know how we could.
Further review by the replay official. The play stands as called. First down.
Has to be indisputable evidence to overturn the official on the spot. And it's really too tough to call. But look at the positioning by the official. I mean, that's absolutely perfect.
So Washington at the 21-yard line. They've scored on their last 4 consecutive possessions. They have all of their timeouts. And they start from the 21-yard line. Smith for a yard. And that will take us to the 2-minute warning. So 2 minutes to go in the first half. First quarter, all Denver. Second quarter, all Washington. Redskins by 18. Everybody knows Joe Gibbs a great coach. They all say how terrific he is making the adjustments going into the second half. What's Reeves going to do now going into the second half? He's the guy who's got to make the adjustments.
I think it's going to be very difficult to come back. The Redskins are doing what they want to do at the very outset of the game. They are finally back to controlling the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, but if I had to mount a comeback, the guy I'd go talk to is number 7.
Superman.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody is capable of mounting a second half in a Super Bowl, I think it's John Elway. He's got the receivers to do it. He's got the running game. And Denver, I think, has just been burned in their secondary. I mean, they've made some errors in that secondary. Some of them not mental. They're just physical things, and in some ways are outclassed.
2nd and 9, Washington from their own 22-yard line. Smith, another big burst. 40, and 50.
And look at Lilly.
And Lilly finally chases him down at the 35-yard line. Fantasy land for Timmy Smith.
Domination at the line of scrimmage. The long touchdown run on the right side, this time over on the left side. And again, the speed by Timmy Smith. He doesn't look that fast. Let's take a look at it, low angle. Joe Jacoby on the left side, Raleigh McKenzie, and they pull the offside. Thielman with a good block. And here he comes.
The same old play over and over, the counter gap. That time it's Thielman and Mark May, and Denver's playing this play like they've never seen it before. Washington has probably run this thing a couple hundred times during the course of the regular season. It's their bread and butter play, and Denver, looking at it repeatedly, can't stop it.
10 carries, 131 yards for Timmy Smith. That's more than he had in the entire season. Williams has it deflect off the hands of Warren as he goes down. Freddie Gilbert rushing in, 2nd down.
And Doug's a little bit banged up again. You see how gingerly he stands up. That knee's hurting him a bit.
Yeah, get you an idea how he feels where he is in that pocket, though. He did not even see the man coming from behind. He knew he had to get rid of it. Somehow he felt the presence of that man, fired the shot, threw it in hard to Don Warren. He couldn't handle it, but he did avoid the sack and also avoid an interception.
Whoa. Whoa. 322 yards and a quarter.
A monster quarter for Washington. 28 on the board and still moving. On 2nd and 10, off balance. The throw is caught by Sanders. Escapes the tackle inside the 20 and out of bounds at the 13-yard line.
Dennis Smith just doesn't make the tackle. It's his play all the way on Ricky Sanders, and he's there in perfect position and just doesn't make it. And we see Tony Lilly coming back to the huddle. He tried to make the tackle late, and he got crunched right at the conclusion of the play.
Dream a day for Ricky Sanders. Williams again gets to protection. They were trying to deal over the left side of the defensive line, and there's Dennis Smith. That's a tackle you've got to make. He doesn't do it. And
watch Lilly get crunched right there. That's where he entered himself.
Oh, what did he ever?
At the 14-yard line, Williams dropping back to pass, throwing, Sanders again to the 7-yard line. And Sanders has eclipsed in 1/2 the all-time Super Bowl record most yards gained in a game by a receiver. 161 by Lynn Swann. 177 is his up to the moment total. And timeout called by Washington.
This is the most remarkable quarter of offensive football that we've seen all season, much less that it should come in a Super Bowl. I think the second best would have been the one that John Elway had in the Monday night game against Chicago. But I mean, my jaw is sitting on my chest. I mean, I'm flabbergasted at what Washington's doing to Denver this quarter.
Even though Washington only scored 14 against Chicago, remember that second quarter at Soldier Field that brought them from behind from 14-0 to tie the game and eventually to set up Green's winning punt return was what you would think would be the ultimate quarter for a Doug Williams-led team, but he's topped that here.
He got in here late. It's hard to realize that Denver was on top 10-0. What a turnaround. And this total, and this man, Doug Williams, with a lot of protection, you can see limp into the huddle. And obviously in pain from a hyperextended left knee. Had to leave the game earlier. And Tony Lilly, hey, baby, you've had a long day already. It is only just short of halftime.
Yeah, number 48, Randy Robbins, is going in to replace Tony. And I think that's a smart move. He was trying to backpedal and just can't do it effectively.
We're getting down around Didier country. The big tight end.
2nd and 3. At the 7. And it's Bryant following Didier, but Didier can't lay down the block, and Bryant gets tackled back at the 8-yard line. And another Bronco is going to be slow in getting up. That's Dennis Smith.
Well, this is quickly becoming a disaster for Denver.
Yeah, they cannot afford to lose Dennis Smith. That takes care of all the safety men they have remaining.
Lilly's on the sideline. Smith is banged up. Dave stuttered. The left tackle had to leave with a sprained knee. He's the guy that has to try to neutralize Dexter Manley. And Joe Collier may have to consider suiting up himself.
The defensive coordinator and assistant head coach has sent Lilly for the moment back into the game now when play resumes.
Well, mercifully, Dennis Smith is up, and
see the cast on his right arm. He just came back before the championship game against Cleveland from a broken arm. All-pro strong safety for the past couple of years.
That unfortunately has been the in vogue injury for Denver defensive backs because it cost them Mike Harden for the playoffs as well. 1:09 left in the half. When a timeout is called in this circumstance because of an injured player, if you get up and can continue, you still have to come out for at least one play. 3rd down, 4 at the 8-yard line with Sanders in motion. And he lost it for Didier, and as Frank said, it's getting to be Didier time. Touchdown.
Big man, so effective down there. And again, Doug Williams, he is having a dream day for a quarterback. He's had a dream year and a dream moment here in San Diego. Like lighting up a cigar almost for Joe Gibbs. A la Red Auerbach. This was a fight, they might stop it.
again, motion across the formation. That time it was Ricky Sanders in motion. He goes to the inside, draws triple coverage, and really Clint Didier just all alone to the outside. Tyrone Braxton, the guy trying to get in there with some coverage, but too little too late.
Haji Sheik with the extra point. An unbelievable second quarter. Clint Didier. Big touchdown catch at Chicago in the divisional playoffs. Washington on their last 5 possessions.
He's thrown 4 touchdown passes. That ties the Super Bowl record. Here he is again. Lots of time. That's the key to it, Dan.
Just all the time in the world. He gets his field of vision, and Tyrone Braxton is 2 steps, 3 steps behind Clint Didier.
And Bradshaw, I'm sure, looking on somewhere and watching this performance by Doug Williams.
And that's not 4 1/2, that's 4 1/4.
Yeah. 1:04 to go in the first half. As Cox picks it off, and it's tipped by Dennison, picked up by Bell, and he spins his way back out to the 23-yard line.
Number 35, Ken Bell, takes the kick at the 10-yard line.
In the history of postseason football,
Number 40, Elway.
most points in any quarter, this is it. Oakland back in '69, Giants in '34.
And you know, the thing to keep in mind about that last touchdown, Washington was just trying to run out the football. I mean, they were just going to keep it on the ground, and Timmy Smith breaks the big play off of the counter gap. Hey, they were content to grind it out and go in at 28-10. 35-10 is nothing more than just gravy for Washington.
At the 23-yard line, they set up the screen, and Elway's lucky to complete this one to Lang. And Lang, looking for the sideline, doesn't get close and gets knocked down at the 31-yard line. Cook was the man, Marcus Cook, who tipped it. Clock still running, 40 seconds.
Manley is queuing up carts, top of your screen.
2nd and 3, shovel to Sewell. And he takes it out to the 41-yard line. Broncos have 1 timeout.
And Dexter is really upset with himself. That's the 3rd time on that shovel where they don't even block the defensive ends. Dexter saw that thing coming all the way and still wasn't able to make the play.
You know what he's doing, though, Dan? He's making Denver think every time they call a play about Dexter Manley. Studdard's out of the ball game. Keith Cart's working against him. No way he can handle him alone, just man for man. And Denver has to think every time they call a play, what is Dexter Manley going to be doing?
Another look at it, the shovel pass. Dexter smells it right now, tries to get back to the inside to make the play on Sewell. Gets a good shot at his left leg, but Steve, showing some good ability, stays on his feet. Dexter comes up kissing the turf.
I think you'll agree, Dan, it's tough to play offensive football when you have to be thinking that way.
It's tough to play offensive football when you're down by 25 points. That's when it's really tough to play offensive football.
Last time out taken by the Broncos, so they're at their own 40-yard line with 23 seconds remaining in the first half.
I guess with a 25-point lead, we've cut down the chances of an overtime game.
Slightly. Elway. Throwing, Mark Jackson makes the catch. And a flag is down.
The flag's on the near side of the field, about 30 yards downfield.
12 men on the field. Defense.
And they still completed it.
And it stops it with 15 seconds.
Very moving.
1st and 10 from the 36. Elway fires, and Brian Davis is there to intercept it. The rookie out of Nebraska. He was their top draft choice last year. Came in the 2nd round, and Dan Reeves wants to take the headset off and get back into the locker room.
And John Elway says, where did this guy come from?
And he might not want to come out of that locker room.
Boy, did he get both feet down? I'm anxious to take a look at this. A designed rollout all the way by John Elway, and he makes the decision to throw. Again, you have to question John's decision to throw that. But Brian Davis clearly with both feet down. Boy, that's a nifty looking play, isn't it?
That's beautiful.
He had an interception against the Bears. And now 1 here. None in the regular season, 2 in postseason.
Well, Denver's got to worry about Washington trying to run out the ball. Last time they did that, they got a touchdown.
Look out, Smith is in there.
They may score on this formation.
And it's their only possession of the 2nd quarter that doesn't net a touchdown. Reeves has just lived a nightmare. And so have the Broncos as the Redskins score 5 touchdowns to lead 35-10 at the half. And we'll be back at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego after this message from the NFL and a word from your local station. Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf in San Diego, and that man has every reason in the world to be smiling right now. 4 touchdown passes, led him on 5 drives that ended in TDs in the second period. 306 yards in a half.
And you know, he's 13 completions out of 21 attempts, and keep in mind that 4 of those were dropped. If those are caught, it's a 17-21 day so far for Doug Williams. And John Elway, as I said there, Frank, he's got to stop forcing the ball and trying to make it all happen at once.
Started off 4 for 4, and you can see what happened to his numbers. But it's a little bleak when you look out there. Dave Studdard is gone. We keep talking about it. Dexter Manley is the big pass rushing defensive end, and he is the chief threat to John Elway. He's going to try to get anything mounted. And here is a youngster, the rookie out of Texas Tech, who is having just an absolutely brilliant day, but gives a lot of credit to that offensive line. They have blown some holes in there that you could have moved through, Dan.
Not quite as quickly, but I would have made a game attempt at it. And you know, as I talked about earlier, Frank, it's the same old play. It's just that counter gap over and over and over.
How many years of it? They've been doing it forever.
Ever since Joe Gibbs has been there.
Steve Cox to kick off, and the second half is underway with Washington on top by 25. Ken Bell brings it back out to the 25-yard line. And look now at the salient figures through the first 30 minutes of play.
So the numbers we talked about, the total yard 419. They just exploded. They all came late.
You know what's really impressive here is that Denver is on their way to a 500-yard day offensively. I mean, kind of lost in that Washington onslaught is the fact that Denver is really moving the ball pretty well. But pretty well, I think, isn't quite good enough.
First down, Broncos at their own 26-yard line as they begin the second half out of the shotgun. Elway fakes the inside give, buys time, chased by Mann, chased by Grant and Manley, and then throws incomplete after all of that, intended for Sewell. And Lang also in the area.
That's intended for number 33, Gene Lang.
John comes back to the huddle smiling, and the Redskin defensive line come back sucking for some air.
Dexter Manley's tongue is right out to his knee. He chased him, had about 3 pops at him, never did collect him.
Bob McElway called an official's timeout and heads for the Washington bench.
McElway, one of 8 NFL referees selected to work postseason play, and then of those 8, they picked 1 for the Super Bowl. He had worked the Seattle-Houston wild card game. It's his first Super Bowl assignment.
I wonder what that was. He went over and said something to Joe Gibbs. How about an explanation, Bob? Guess not.
Okay.
Looked like he chastised Joe Gibbs for something.
Whatever.
Running up the score, man.
Second and 10 from the 26 with Jackson in motion. Intended for Sewell, too high. Covered by Vaughn. Pressure put on by the blitzing Monty Coleman. Third down.
Clean run for Monty Coleman. He's probably the swiftest of all the Redskin linebackers. Dave Butts wearing that protective brace on his left knee, and it looks as though he's having a problem with it.
Dave wears the Lenox Hill knee brace, and they may be giving it a lube job right now. Get out the oil can, and maybe a little rusty from overuse.
Marcus Cook spells him. Third down, 10 from the 26-yard line. Flag, and Elway fires, and it's caught by Jackson up at the 37-yard line, but a marker is down at the line of scrimmage.
Number 80, Mark Jackson.
Manley looked like he might have been moving just a little too eagerly.
He smells blood, but I think you're right. It looked like Dexter was the guy that came across the line.
Offside, number 72, defense, penalty is declined, first down.
We're being told when McElwee went over to Gibbs, he was told that he has been holding his 12th man on the field too long defensively. They do all of that situation substituting, and they want to wait until the very last possible second. And McElwee said that's too long.
He was chastising him.
Yeah, you're right. First and 10 at the 37. And it's Sammy Winder who escapes the first tackle but not the second. Alvin Walton gets credit for the pop.
If Dexter Manley continues to grab the face mask of Keith Bishop like that, he's going to be invited to watch this ball game from the locker room. I think we got a good look there of Dexter going right for the face mask of Keith Bishop. And let's take a look at this. Dexter collapsed down to the inside, and that's an all-pro football player there, number 54. And watch Dexter go for the face. And that's a no-no right there. Now that's, Keith says, hey, a tit for tat.
In defense of Bishop and Dexter Manley, it started first really, I think, with Bishop grabbing the jersey and almost tearing it off Dexter Manley. It's going to get very interesting over there.
Yeah, but you don't go for the face mask. That's
never.
That wasn't a good play by either one of those two guys.
Well, he's never masked his emotions.
Good point.
Second and 12 from the 35-yard line. Elway. And through the hands of the intended receiver, Vance Johnson, who has been a pretty solid guy today. And as we said before, he is not nearly 100%. Didn't start. He's played from time to time today, but he's been no factor.
Hey, a good shot there of Keith Bishop, who was blocking on the inside, didn't have anybody to hit, and he turned and went looking for Manley. And boy, did he get a good shot on Dexter. You can see Dexter walking back to the huddle, little shaken. See, here's Keith Karts working against Dexter. There's Bishop that comes from clear up at the line of scrimmage and drops him like a shot. Good work, guys.
Third and 13. And flags before the snap.
Bishop's going to be famous.
Start, 54, offense. Still third down.
Keith Bishop's going to be famous in a hurry if he keeps this up. Face mask, hits on Manley, and now an offsides.
And he gets the ISO.
And he'll be right back at him next week in Honolulu.
He'll be headed for Hawaii.
Going to the Pro Bowl.
3 straight, I believe, huh?
Yeah.
First Bronco offensive lineman to ever go to a Pro Bowl.
That, strangely enough, is Denver's first penalty. Third and 18 from the 30-yard line. Elway stepping up, throwing only to Wilburn as he makes the interception at the 40-yard line. Gets a block and runs it back to the 50. Number 2 for the man who led the NFL in interceptions during the regular season with 9.
And I think that makes John 3 for 3. I think on his last 3 possessions, he's thrown 3 interceptions.
And obviously just pressing. This game not being 35-10, I'm sure he would not have thrown that football.
Penalty will be against
Personal
Denver.
foul, late hit, 34. After the play was over, 15-yard penalty. The ball will belong to the intercepting team. First and 10.
Against Washington, against Brian Davis for the late hit.
He really attracted the pressure this time. Watch the deal at the bottom here. They bring the defensive end, that is Charles Mann, to the inside the tackle, and right in Elway's face. And they also come with their safety blitz, Alvin Walton, number 40.
Redskins now at their own 34-yard line. Their first possession of the third quarter. Sanders, the move man. Timmy Smith. And they finally bottle the rookie up. Simon Fletcher, the converted end, making the tackle.
Timmy Smith must have been stunned over there. No hold.
Number 1, world champion.
Possessions. Redskins. First quarter when it was all Denver. 4 punts. We found out a lot about Cox. Second quarter we found out a lot about Williams and Smith and Sanders. Second and 10 from the 35. Kelvin Bryant. First down, out to the 50-yard line goes Bryant.
Calvin Bryant, the ball carrier.
The Redskins so resilient. They're in the Super Bowl twice in '82 and '83, and the key guys are Theismann and Riggins. Then they pick up George Rogers, and he hasn't even been in the game today. And it's Doug Williams and Timmy Smith and Ricky Sanders.
I think the key guys might be Joe Gibbs, Bobby Beathard, and Jack Kent Cooke.
So we just talked to Bobby Beathard at halftime. He is the main man. He is the one that has been the pipeline for this personnel.
How about Jack Kent Cooke with Doug Williams paying a backup quarterback $475,000 in case he might need him? I think this is maybe needing him just a little.
Clark, first down as he makes the catch at the 39-yard line. Lilly makes the tackle, and again, it's worth repeating at this point. The Monday before the regular season, the Redskins were about ready to make a deal with the Raiders to send Doug Williams to Los Angeles. In fact, Joe Gibbs called Williams that morning at 7, and he said, it looks like you're going to L.A. Williams took it to be a fait accompli, and then Gibbs had to come to him that afternoon and tell him, I can't do it. We're going to keep you here. And he came that close to go into the Raiders. 38-yard line. Smith, just as a postscript to that trade story, in talking with Gibbs the other day, and there is Jack Kent Cooke, if the Raiders had come up with a first-round choice or a good player, that deal would have gone through, but they came up a little short in their offer.
Kenny Wolf, our producer, reminds us that Doug Williams is officially on the Redskin injury report with a bruised left knee and has this performance in spite of the fact that he's injured. Not all bad, huh?
2nd and 9 from the 38-yard line. A little low. Gary Clark, the intended receiver. Well, if you believe in omens and you follow horse racing, if you looked at the results at Bay Meadows in San Mateo, California yesterday, the second race was won by a horse named Redskin Chief, owned by Jack Kent Cooke. Payoff $15.80.
Were you there?
No, should have been.
Redskin Chief?
Yep.
Paid $15.80.
Yep.
What was the Quinella?
5 and 3. 96-40. 3rd and 9. Williams incomplete, and a flag down at the 34-yard line.
And I think it was Doug Williams saying that there was interference against Ricky Sanders.
Or Rulon Jones coming in to hit Williams late.
Well, the flag came from out of the backfield, so it's going to be against the defense, I would think. And it just keeps going downhill for Denver.
Illegal hands to the face. Number 28, defense, 5 yards, automatic first down.
Jeremiah Castille, hero of the Cleveland game. Yesterday's hero.
They come and go quickly, don't they?
I don't know that 2 weeks ever seemed so far away.
First and 10. Williams approaching a Super Bowl record for passing yardage. And to the 31-yard line, Smith. Joe Montana holds the Super Bowl record for most yards passing in a game. 331, and he did that in the game against Miami 3 years ago. And Doug Williams is right on the verge.
There's another record for Timmy Smith, the first rookie to go over 100 in the Super Bowl. I can't imagine what that must feel like to be that young, that new to the game, and so little experience in the regular season to come in and have such an impact in a game of this magnitude. Overwhelming.
On 2nd and 9. It's complete to Sanders at the 29-yard line.
That's number 83, Ricky
Sanders having an absolutely outstanding afternoon. And of course, when you think about all the years that Doug Williams got hammered around down in Tampa Bay, he learned to do a lot of things that have really paid off for him in recent weeks, and that is when to get rid of the football. He can get rid of it, avoid the sack, and he's been doing that throughout his entire career. But when he went with Tampa Bay, it hasn't been too well remembered. He had 10 300-yard games down there. He's been spectacular today.
On 3rd and 7. For Sanders again, too far and nearly picked off. Castille should have had it.
Doug's lucky that one wasn't intercepted. He launched that baby right into double coverage.
Ricky Sanders also thought he was interfered with too.
I think that's what Doug was gesturing to the officials there, Frank, that he thought there was interference on the play. Let's look at it from the end zone.
Ricky finally is getting the attention of the double coverage. He might be in there just a little late, but he was hammered around pretty good.
Jeremiah Castille had that ball go right off his shoulder pad.
Now a 46-yard field goal attempt. Ali Haji.
This isn't exactly his range.
Right on the edge. And the kick is off the goalpost. Hit the upright.
He hit the upright in the championship game, didn't he?
Yep.
First field goal of the day hit the upright in the game against Minnesota.
Former New York Giant who had that great rookie here. Then the injuries came, the back, groin pull. Gave up on him after 3 years, went to Atlanta. Resurfaced with the Redskins this year when Atkinson was hurt in the very first game. Hits the goalpost, no good. Doink.
Jack Murphy Stadium. 3rd period, 8:57 to go in the quarter. Denver has the football at the 29. Washington ahead 35-10. Little swing pass nearly intercepted by Grant, and he'd have been gone, or close to it anyway. Pass intended for Steve Sewell.
Wow. John Elway is just having a difficult time ever since the last half of the second quarter. And look at Darryl Grant to the right of your screen on the loop. He smells the screen. He's just going to go with Steve Sewell. And alert play by a defensive lineman. That's just heads up football. But again, something that's easier to do when you're playing for the team that has a 35-10 lead.
2nd and 10. And who would have believed those numbers at the outset? And a sack at the 21 by Dexter Manley.
This is what Joe Gibbs counted on so heavily, and he's getting it from every part of his football team. But defensively, he wanted Dexter Manley to come up on the outside, make sure Elway couldn't slide to the outside. He did that. He beats Cart so thoroughly he can step inside. No place for Elway to go, and down he goes. And the defense, the Redskins now in total domination over the Denver Broncos.
Dexter Manley that time not only put the good inside move on Keith Karts, but he also got by Steve Sewell to collapse to the inside. And he and Charlie Mann nowhere to be seen in the first quarter, but they're coming on strong now, and Mann goes offside just as I talk about it.
On 3rd and 17, free play, and over the head of Jackson. Short hop by Bowles.
Well, Charlie Mann, I'm sure, was offsides on the play. Remember how we talked about early in the ball game how the Redskin defensive ends, Mann and Manley, were concerned about that hard count of John Elway. And
offside, number 71.
There's a good look at what happens.
3rd down.
John Elway, the best in the league at giving you that hut, that really hard one. And
I wondered if you were going to do that.
I had to do it.
That goes with your doink.
I couldn't help myself.
You give great effects.
3rd down and 12 at the 27. Five-man rush. And through the hands of Natil. Ryan Davis covering. Elway is 5 of his last 24. 5 of his last 24.
I mean, we're talking about things that haven't happened since John Elway was a rookie. Being battered around like this and just having the ball go nowhere near where he wants it to go.
His defense, this one should have been handled by Natil. Coming back for it, in and out of the hands. That's a completion a few moments ago. One by Jackson was certainly catchable, but he is not the Elway that we have watched over recent weeks. He's not because of that defense. Pressure.
Moran to kick. Green calls for the fair catch and makes it at the 29-yard line. then gets into it as Bruce Plummer manifests some Bronco frustration. 8:03 left in the third period. It's the Washington Redskins on top by 25. 1st and 10 from the 30. Timmy Smith slides to the outside and picks up a couple of yards. Jim Ryan gets credit for at least part of the tackle, and Smith, the rookie, we talked about it earlier, the fact that he plays so sparingly in college, but this is where Bobby Beathard and Washington really excelled. And to take a look at these guys, see so little of them, and to know that they could develop.
Could be the Redskins are just playing with the clock, toying around, or it could be that Joe Collier has been very effective after halftime. They have shut down the Redskins offense, at least certainly the dominance of that offense.
2nd and 7. Williams throws over the middle and finds Warren, who makes his second catch of the game at the 39-yard line. Appears to be a little short.
A thrilling game for Warren, Columbus to San Diego State. He only had 7 receptions for the entire year.
And I think 2 in 1 game was his best day, so this is a real effort here for Donnie Warren. Carl Mecklenburg, number 77. This time, instead of rushing, dropping back into coverage, locked on Donnie Warren, and there to make the tackle, but after the fact.
How much they respect him to cover him with the linebacker, the defensive end.
3rd and inches. George Rogers gets into the ball game, makes his debut, and picks up the 1st down.
Thought we'd see him on short yardage. He's a candidate for an ad for the Blue Cross. He had a dislocated toe, a separated shoulder, a groin injury, injured his ankle last week, had to come out. Been a tough year for George Rogers, former Heisman Award winner.
What's disappointing for George today is that he figured into Washington's game plan whenever they got inside the 5-yard line, but Washington's been scoring from long distance today, and George hasn't had a chance to get in the game.
1st down at the 40-yard line. And a bullet caught out at the 47-yard line by Sanders, who adds to his total and his Super Bowl record yardage. It'll be 2nd down and about 3 coming up.
Well, you don't like to call that junk, but it sure is effective. It's a high percentage type of pass, and this is what Joe Gibbs loves, and Williams is absolutely perfect for it. He just has that slingshot arm, reads it perfectly. Get yourself into a 2nd and short situation. It's almost as safe as running the football.
Smith fights his way out to the 49. He'll be short of the 1st down by about 2. 3rd and 2.
You notice something today about Denver defensively. How often have we seen the first Denver tackler be the guy that brought someone from Washington to the ground? It's almost always the first guy missing, getting a piece, maybe slowing him up a bit, but always takes the 2nd, the 3rd, or the 4th guy to bring him down. And that's just a question of physical football. Denver, one of the smallest defensive teams in the league, and I think it's in situations like this that it really surfaces.
Meanwhile, Williams has eclipsed Montana's Super Bowl record for passing yardage. 3rd and 1. George Rogers picks up another 1st down. And you know, when you put Washington's season into perspective, it's amazing. They get to the Super Bowl, and when you took a look at them in the preseason analysis and looked at all the prospectuses, the key guys offensively, or at least 2 of them, would have been Schrader and Rogers. Neither really figuring in this one.
Again, a credit to Bobby Beathard, and you touched on it earlier, Jack Kent Cooke. Not only that he will pay the kind of a salary it took to get a Doug Williams, but also they're almost 1-to-1 in coaches. They have more coaches than anyone by far in the National Football League. They're serious about their football.
At the 47-yard line. Fake to Smith, and Williams going for Clark, and it is picked off at the 2-yard line by Jeremiah Castille. So he missed an easier interception before and comes up with this one, a beauty, at the 2-yard line.
Beautifully played by Castille. A real bullet that time from Doug Williams, but Jeremiah knew he had to have the coverage to the inside, and even though it's a well-thrown ball, Castille plays it as good as you can. And it's been a while And something exciting has happened for Denver defensively, and Jeremiah Castille tries to get him on the right track.
Castille with the interception. That's given Denver the ball at the 2-yard line. John Elway is used to 98-yard drives. The last one he engineered came under slightly different circumstances. From the 2. Lang to give him breathing room, and a marker is thrown. Lang getting to the 6-yard line. Bob McElwee telling us it's going to push him back half the distance.
Almost had to be.
Yeah, when you see it there, there's 90% chance that's what it's going to be. And let's see who's the lucky man.
Holding, number 54, offense, half the distance, first down.
Your man Bishop again.
It's been a big third quarter for Keith Bishop. Offsides, a hold, couple fracases, but still some kind of football player, and this is some kind of defensive coordinator.
He was a football player too. 48 interceptions for the Bears and the Rams, and came to the Redskins a long time ago. Became the defensive head coach under head coach Gibbs as an assistant head coach.
1st and 11 from the 1. Elway to Mark Jackson. He's out of bounds at about the 11-yard line, short of the first down by a yard. Barry Wilburn covering.
Hey, the thing about Richie Pettibone, this guy could win you a lot of money in a trivia contest when you say, guess what position he played in the National Football League. Now, what size? How big would you say Richie is right now, Frank?
Oh yeah, he's a friend. I wouldn't want to.
I mean,
how about he's a man of ordinary stature?
This guy was a defensive back. I mean, this guy, he was a safety.
And a great one.
Huh.
Coaching can take a lot out of you.
Or put a lot into you.
2nd and 1, and a first down as Sammy Winder takes it out to the 15-yard line.
I think Denver's trying to run the clock out.
2.5 to play, third quarter.
What a nightmare for John Elway, and it's a tremendous credit to the defensive scheme of things that Pettibone set up for these Redskins. Didn't work so good in the first quarter, but all of a sudden it gelled, and things have gone every possible plus way you can imagine for the Redskins.
1st and 10 from the 15. He fires to Castille, who gets rocked and socked as he makes the catch and has the first down. Todd Bowles delivered the ding.
And that was some kind of effort by Ricky Natile to hold on to the ball, because Bowles jarred it loose. Clarence Vaughn came in, and he still held on to the football. Let's take a look at this again. It's not much of a pattern, just a simple little hook to the inside. Natile sits down, and watch that shot by Bowles. Here comes Vaughn swiping at it, and still Natile holds on to the football. Nice effort.
First down, 27-yard line. Batted, incomplete. Dave Butts.
Second time for that. And you know, that's so typical of the way it's going for Denver, guys. Did you see the pass protection? A perfect pocket for John Elway. Both their tackles handled man and Manley. Gave John all sorts of time. Look at the good blocking. Charles Mann stopped. Carts at the top of your picture is really handling Manley. John Elway gets to take his step, and Dave Butts, who never even left the line of scrimmage, hits the ball.
You're 6'7", you can go up there a long way. 14 years. Ooh, that's a lot of bumps, bruises, and still going strong.
2nd and 10. And the 30-second clock expired.
Danny's about ready to tear that sheet up, I think. Don't worry, Danny. Pam and the kids still love you.
Maybe.
You've been around this game too long.
With him is Gary Kubiak in the jacket, the backup quarterback to Elway. who has sat and watched all season as Elway has led them into the Super Bowl. But today, a day unlike almost any other in John's career, as he goes back to pass and gets sacked back at the 15 by Manley and Walton.
Safety blitz, and that's the hitter, Walton. Manley sending Keith Karks around. Never waved the loose over on the left side.
Well, you can play defensive football when you've got a lead like this. I mean, Richie Pettibone can call just about anything he wants to from the sideline and doesn't really have to worry about the consequences all that much. And the Redskins secondary this entire game, with the exception of a very shaky beginning, but since they got solidified, has been all over every Bronco receiver all across the field, and they've just completely disrupted Denver's passing game.
3rd and 22. Washington just turning in its 3rd sack, and it's the 2nd in which Walton has been involved. And Elway hanging it up for Watson and has it picked off at the 47-yard line.
That's going to be roughing the passer, though. That's going to come back. They roughed John Elway.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Number 40 defense.
Yeah, that's all the way. Alvin Walton just steamrolled Elway.
He's been in there several times. He got a couple of hits, and this time he just carried it too far.
Yeah, you got to be smart. Got to be smart. And Clarence Vaughn with the interception, but that won't even go in the books. Look at Alvin Walton right there on the left. Charles Mann draws Lanier's block, a free rein. You can't lower the shoulder and hit the guy in the back like that.
Well, no question, he could have pulled off that one. And there should be no question to Walton. They're going to throw a flag on it.
That's the 2nd time today that Elway has drawn the roughing the passer penalty. One in the first half. Again, another look at it. He's got the free shot, but it's clear that he's thrown the ball. Took 2 full steps, lowered that left shoulder, and puts it right in John Elway's kidneys. That's going to draw the flag 100 times out of 100.
Walton is programmed to 180, but he's about 195.
The hardest hitter on the Redskins defensive team. Not a great cover guy, but boy, he's some kind of tackler, some kind of force guy.
And in on 2 sacks today. That gives Denver a 1st down out at the 30-yard line. And it's Sewell going nowhere. Dexter Manley pursues and gets him. And then tells him about it. Does a little play-by-play in color as well.
Dexter might have been clipped on the play. It almost looked like Dexter was hit from behind. Fights off a block. Now watch him running right here. Yeah, he's hit from behind by Stephon Humphreys. And Dexter fights off the clip and still gets in and makes the play.
He had 3 Broncos take a shot at him. He went over to the bench. I don't know whether he was hurt or not. Yeah, now he's holding his left arm, but he most definitely was winded. He has been in on the pass rush close to Elway for the past 3 out of 5 plays, and now he's stretched one out. He is really winded.
2nd down, 13. And Castille can't handle it. He was covered by Green.
Isn't it funny how Darrell Green, we really haven't called his number much today. John Elway and the Denver Broncos are going nowhere near Darrell Green.
And it's funny too, because it looked like Green would be on Vance Johnson if Johnson had been healthy. That hasn't been the case.
Another 3rd and long yardage situation for Denver, and again John Elway's passing percentage is headed for Tijuana.
On 3rd and 13 for Castille again, and Bowles breaks the play up.
Well, that one could have been well intercepted too.
Yeah, that's a good play by the Bronco receiver. That is intercepted. Bowles had a beat on that pass all the way. That had no velocity to it. Ricky Nattiel did a nice job breaking it up. That ball looked more like a punt than a pass. Todd Bowles from Temple.
Now you just know they're going to put the ball in the air. They lay back. They're going almost totally with the prevent defense.
Eric Yarber is back to receive the kick as they give Green this punt off. And he makes the fair catch back at the 31-yard line. So Denver can't go anywhere. Washington gets it back. They work on Manley on the bench with 12 seconds to play in the third quarter. From the 30, Gary Clark. All the way to the 43-yard line of the Broncos. On a play that will wrap up the third quarter.
One thing about Washington offensively, they're sure not playing like a team that's got a 25-point lead, are they? Ends around. Running it all. Why save it?
End of the third, 35-10. Back after this work. Washington starts the fourth period at the 44-yard line, 1st and 10. Smith breaks another one inside the 30, the 20. Timmy Smith to the 10-yard line.
That look familiar?
Now we're going to have a trivia question. I want everybody out there to guess the name of that play. Let's try counter gap, where you pull the 2 off linemen up through the hole, and you'd think Denver would figure it out by now.
Or as Terry Burns would call it, a stutter play. How effective, though?
Nothing more. The back takes a counter step, and the 2 off linemen come around and through the hole, and they have just been pouring it to Denver on that play all day.
Timmy Smith is heading towards some kind of record.
He has 171 yards in 16 carries. That one good for 32. Here comes Castille, helped off. And Washington has a 1st and 10 just outside the 10-yard line. Smith comes back the other way and barrels down to about the 3-yard line.
A total busted play, and he makes yardage. I mean, that's the kind of day it's been for Washington. Remember in the first half when both linemen fell down and Kelvin Bryant gets around to the outside? This time Doug Williams and Timmy Smith run into one another in the backfield, and Smith still gets around the defense and makes yardage.
Super Bowl record, most yards rushing. It was Marcus Allen in Tampa, 191.
Timmy Smith hasn't played a full season since 3 years ago.
Allen did
sophomore.
Allen did it against Washington. Second down, 3. And it figures. Timmy Smith for the touchdown. You deserve it, Timmy.
What a place to grow into a star, the Super Bowl. There's a whole lot of people around the country who've never heard of this young man until tonight. Around the world, too.
And he doesn't even get touched. Watch this from behind, and just watch what the Redskin offensive line does to the Bronco defense.
He didn't need that from Didier, but he got it anyway.
Joe Jacoby came across the formation on a pull, but a lot of orange jerseys standing around and watching, and if you're a Denver fan, that ain't a pretty sight.
That'd be a mud dance. He's out in Texas Tech.
Haji Sheik kicks his 6th extra point of the game. 13:09 remaining. 42-10. Redskin coach is telling us the other day they were trying to keep it a little simple for Timmy Smith when he was in the game. He's just a rookie. Didn't want to burden him with too many audibles and all the rest of it. They didn't have to burden him with anything today, did they?
Oh, we asked him how many plays he had, and he looked at us. He said 3.
Yeah.
I think back to that conversation we had with him, and how all 3 of us were impressed what a classy young kid he is. I mean, really a fine young man.
Kickoff fielded at the goal line by Bell. And Orr makes the tackle out at the 14. Records falling by the wayside left and right here. Washington has already eclipsed the mark for most total yardage in a Super Bowl game at 541. And there it is. San Francisco held the mark against the Dolphins 3 years ago.
13 minutes remaining.
Yeah. They're not done. And Smith is not done because he's going to track down Marcus Allen in another couple of carries the way things are going. Dexter Manley is back in the game. And coming out is Dean Hamill. who was in on the kickoff coverage. Broncos take over at their own 14-yard line. Coming into the game today, Denver's defense had not allowed a 100-yard day by any opposing running back this year. And here's Timmy Smith on the verge of 200. Joe Collier, the exalted defensive coordinator of the Broncos, he has lived a nightmare.
Well, he knew he had a lot of work to do coming into this ball game. Win or lose, he had to revamp that defense by next year, and this solidifies it.
Elway escapes the sack and then runs out of bounds out at the 34-yard line. That's the type of play in a close game at a critical time you remember for a long time and say only Elway could do that, but here it's dust in the wind.
You're right. Look at him smile.
He has a lot of fun, isn't he?
You do have to really enjoy a guy who enjoys what he's doing as much as John Elway. Down 42-10, and the guy is still out there for the love of the competition. He knew 11 guys were chasing him and couldn't catch him, and even losing the ball game derives some satisfaction from that.
1st and 10 at the 34.
Look out.
Elway starting to slip as he planted. And the errant pass was the result, and the pop put on by Monty Coleman.
Well, Monty Coleman was free on the blitz, and Washington is doing a fabulous job of overloading a side against Denver and coming with the blitz, and they're coming with a free man just about every time. Watching them get after the quarterback. Watch Monty Coleman. See him right there on the line of scrimmage. Karts drops off, looks at Manley, but there's nobody there for Monty Coleman, and he really strokes John Elway after the release of that ball.
That's 2 times that Coleman has come through absolutely free. Good way to lose a quarterback.
2nd and 10. And it's Clarence Kay who takes it all the way to the 39-yard line. He's been a silent man today, and when the game began, Denver thinking about using Sewell and Kay. They were going to go to Sewell a lot. They were going to try to use their tight ends a lot.
Remember, we talked to John Elway yesterday, and he mentioned Clarence Kay, he mentioned Sewell, and their game plan was to try to lock up anybody they could on the Redskin linebackers. They were going to try to take advantage of the fact that they're not the speediest group of guys and not really good coverage guys. And yet, like a lot of other people, they haven't been able to do it. And I think that's to Richie Pettibone's credit. He really, really covers up his defensive weaknesses as well as anybody.
Elway on 1st and 10, and down he goes.
That'll be a 71 there somewhere. Charles Mann gets into the act.
There they are. Man, old Manley.
And if it hadn't been Mann, it could just as well have been Monty Coleman all over again. Top of your screen, Manley going against Lanier. And when the defensive end, as you well know, here's Lanier trying to make the block. When the defensive end knows you have to put it up in the air, it makes it so tough on the offensive tackle, Dan.
Well, part of the problem there is that John Elway took such a deep drop that Lanier, trying to ride Charles Mann around the corner, really had no corner. There's nothing more a defensive end likes than trying to sack a quarterback that takes about a 13-yard drop like John Elway did there. It's pretty easy to get him.
At the 38-yard line, Clarence Kay makes another reception with 10:40 left in the 4th quarter.
That time they picked up Coleman and left Butts free. They just are not keeping in enough men to pick up the blitz that Richie Pettibone has designed, and it's a good one.
So it'll be 3rd down and 9 for the Broncos.
It's been a long time, Al, since they've been in Washington territory. They have been playing most of this ball game at their own end of the field, not generating too much offense, at least productive offense, and this must look refreshing to be down here in Washington territory.
Johnson, Natil, and Steve Watson are all split to the right, with Watson now coming in motion. And he and Jackson.
Here comes Walton
to the
again.
left. Flag is down. And Elway gets ripped at the 45-yard line. Alvin Walton again, and 51, Coleman. But motion is the call.
Illegal motion. Illegal motion. Number 24, offense. 2 men moving. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
You want to watch a good effort. I want you to keep an eye on Alvin Walton, who comes up to the line of scrimmage here at the top. Watch his effort coming and chasing all the way back around and getting John Elway clear over there on the other side. There's Alvin Walton. He gets into position right now. We switched guys. Here he comes right now from that position. He gets blocked, almost down to the ground, back up, chases John Elway and comes in and makes the tackle. Think this guy's not enjoying his Super Bowl experience?
And he can just tee off now. It's 4th and 17. Broncos go for it at the 45-yard line. 9:46 left in the game. And there's a marker. And Elway comes back the other way, and he hits Johnson, who gets inside the 20 and is tackled at the 12-yard line, and a penalty flag at the inception of the play. And we'll bring it back.
The one problem you have with a scrambling quarterback, a blocker trying to feel pressure.
Holding, number 62, offense. 3rd down.
Blocker is blocking against pressure, and all of a sudden your quarterback steps outside, and you feel the pressure release, and all of a sudden you make a grab and you get caught for holding.
Mike Freeman, the man called for holding, the free agent that had to step into some awful big shoes when Billy Bryan went down with a knee injury earlier in the year. And Mike Freeman, a guy who'd been in Denver's camp for a couple of years, working up front against Marcus Cook, number 74, and pretty easy to see when you get that left arm onto the guy's back. But even though it really wasn't the type of hold that kept Cook from going anywhere, anytime you wrap it all the way around like that, you're running the risk of the umpire seeing it and throwing the flag. But Mike Freeman has played very well for Denver down the stretch, and it's a shame that this one last game is what these guys have to live with until the beginning of training camp.
On 4th and 27, they now decide to punt. And Horan's kick goes out of bounds at about the 28-yard line. 9-11, and Washington can begin to run it down now. They're on top by a score of 42-10. Can life be any better than that for a 9-year-old kid? That's Dave Butts' son, holding Dad's helmet. Boy, I got to go down on the field during the Super Bowl. Talk to my dad right in the middle of the game. He's coming home with a ring.
Dave Butts, who makes his home in Belleville, Illinois, hometown of Jimmy Connors.
Yep. Smith on his way to a Super Bowl record. Out to the 31-yard line. He picks up a total of 6.
I'm going to come up with a new game show, and it's going to be called Guess That Play.
Counter.
And anyone who plays defense for Denver will have an automatic head start.
What happened to you, big guy? What's going on here?
Oh, thanks. Oh, thanks a lot, guys in the truck.
Well, it's got an extension on it.
Oh, I see. Well, we've declared war, I see.
Couldn't fit it in.
Thanks, Larry.
2nd and 4 from the 31-yard line. There it is again. Timmy Smith. There's a Super Bowl record as he takes it out to the 40-yard line, breaking Marcus Allen's mark.
Same play, left side.
20 for 197 now.
Timmy Smith, 5th-round draft pick. He has been sensational. But the blocking he's getting up front is absolutely incredible. That's the record. The man who held the record that Timmy Smith has just erased.
So the rushing mark goes down and the passing mark goes down on the same day. And total yards as well. Smith to the 44-yard line. Bobby Beathard, the old surfer. Grew up in Southern California in El Segundo.
I think he's trying to get somebody to go upstairs to tell Mr. Cook that they might have to give Timmy Smith a raise after this.
I like to talk it over. Bobby Beathard, of course, very instrumental with the Miami Dolphins in the early 70s before coming to the Redskins back in 1979. Had some phenomenal selections of players, free agents, draft picks. We're watching a lot of them perform today.
2nd and 7 from the 43-yard line. A couple of more yards for the new record holder as he takes it out to the 46-yard line. And Jay Schrader, kind of the forgotten man, but as we said before, I think the once and future quarterback of the Redskins. Here's a guy goes to the Pro Bowl last year, winds up on the bench in the Super Bowl the next.
What a classy way he's handled a controversy that could have developed and really did not develop in Washington, as did, of course, Doug Williams. Both been so supportive. He stepped in. He runs the scout team, just like Doug Williams used to run the scout team, and they work hard. He's accepted that job, and he's done it well.
Smith comes out, Ryan in on 3rd down, and Kelvin Bryant, 1st down and a lot more, takes it down to the Bronco 40-yard line.
Well, you think the Redskins have not had a little mileage out of USFL players? There's one of the great ones. The Stars, Philadelphia, later Baltimore.
I don't think I've ever seen a team take one play and run it as often as Washington is running this counter gap, and seen another team who can't do anything about it.
A lot to do with the size involved, when you say, Dan.
Well, they're just getting erased at the point of attack, and the 2 off linemen are just getting up through the hole, whether it's Tillman and May coming from the right or McKenzie and Jacoby coming from the left. I bet they've run that play 20 times today.
From the 40. Hey, they figured it out.
Stopped it.
Yeah. Now that's the ticket.
One of the things the Denver Broncos knew they had to do last year after they were blown away by the Giants 39-20 was to get bigger. They tried to get bigger and they couldn't. They drafted in the 27th round, and Castille was still around, so they took him, and they finally moved Simon Fletcher from defensive end to linebacker over the left side. He's much bigger than Jim Ryan was over there. They moved Jim Ryan over the right side, and then they lost Freddie Gilbert at defensive end, and they had to bring Cragen back at nose tackle. Andre Townsend left nose tackle, went out to defensive end, and they're right back about where they were a year ago in terms of size.
2nd and 13. Bryant. Tackled at the 37-yard line.
And just instinctively, a great professional, he stays in bounds, keeps that clock moving.
That time it was Donnie Warren, the tight end, who came in motion for about 1 yard, came to a stop, and then had a trap block to the inside. I don't know that I ever watched the Washington Redskins operate offensively where I'm not just seriously impressed as to the coaching wizardry of this guy right here, Joe Gibbs. He makes more people do more things during the course of a game, and they all seem to do it well.
Percentage-wise, the winningest coach in the NFL.
37-yard line. 3rd and 6. Sanders, and has the 1st down as he steps out of the 29-yard line. You know, the amazing thing too about Joe Gibbs, you go to Central Casting, he's about the 900th guy you'd pick as a football coach. I mean, he gets the role of accountant or science teacher, doesn't he?
I was with Joe 5 years in St. Louis under Don Coryell. Don Coryell came to St. Louis in '73, brought this guy, Joe Gibbs, as his offensive backfield coach. Jim Hannafin was the offensive line coach, and Rod Dahar was the quarterback coach. That entire offensive staff went on to become head coaches in the National Football League, and Joe Gibbs hasn't done bad with it.
And Happiness is leading 42-10 with under 3-4 minutes to play.
Kelvin Bryant. Clock down to 3.5 to go. Redskins with a 35-point explosion in the 2nd quarter. And they have scored the only touchdown here in the 2nd half. George Rogers is in the game. 42-10.
You know what's a neat feeling right now is if you're Joe Jacoby or Raleigh McKenzie or Jeff Bostic or R.C. Tillman or Mark May, the offensive line of the Washington Redskins got to throw Donnie Warren in there as well, and Clint Didier. It's a nice feeling to go up that line of scrimmage and know you own it. You've owned it all day. You just look at each other, make eye contact, and it's a sweet feeling.
2nd and 8. Rogers to the 23. You look at Dan Reeves and the Denver bench, and all week Reeves saying how terrible it felt to go home last year after losing the Super Bowl. Well, if last year was bad, this baby is awful.
How about what Pat Boland said? He took the loss especially hard last year, the owner of the Denver Broncos, and twice in a row they've got that long flight back to Denver, knowing they weren't close. They got dusted off pretty good by the Giants last year.
Next to Manley. Good football game. They'd have a very sore thumb tomorrow. And how about Doug Williams?
How about Doug Williams?
Playing 20 members of his family. And he was, I think, as occupied with that the other day as he was with anything. His little daughter, Ashley, also here to watch her pop put on quite a show. And Tony Lilly, will he ever forget it? I doubt it. You never do.
2-minute warning. 2 minutes to play. Al Michaels with Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf. Denver led 10-0 early on. And then the Redskins with that explosive second quarter. 5 touchdowns. The PA announcer here has just announced to the crowd that Doug Williams has been voted the MVP of the game.
And look at his teammates surrounding Doug Williams. Up, down, yo-yo type of year. You could say that for a career. And Timmy Smith, we understand, got a lot of votes. The record performance by Timmy Smith.
Well, I'm one of the guys that cast the ballot here, and I have to admit I voted for Doug Williams.
Have to.
Mostly because I think what Timmy Smith did was because of the Redskin offensive line.
3rd down and 4. And it's Rogers seeking the first down and getting it and running out of bounds at the 18-yard line. Malibu Kelly Hayes pointing out to me that the Redskins, so well noted as a team when a guy gets over 100 yards rushing, they normally win, and that was the case today. But in the past, it used to be Riggins and Rogers, and today it's a man by the name of Timmy Smith. 1:54 remaining in the game as the Washington Redskins stand ready to accept their 2nd Vince Lombardi trophy. The other coming following the 1982 season, which ironically was a strike year, when they came from behind to beat Miami in the Super Bowl. 18-yard line. Run out the clock as George Rogers takes it for a gain of 3. George Hill pointing out Williams 18 of 29, 340 yards today, 4 touchdowns. That is a Super Bowl record, and we've been detailing them as they go along. We can wrap some of them up. Ricky Sanders besting Lynn Swann old mark. Timmy Smith erasing Marcus Allen's name. Doug Williams rubbing out Joe Montana's mark. Most TD passes in the game, 4 by Doug Williams, tying Terry Bradshaw. Longest pass play, that's a tie with Plunkett throwing to Kenny King, Williams to Sanders, and that made it 10-7. That was a key play early on in the game.
Not to mention all the records that were broken in the second quarter alone.
Williams, 4 touchdown passes coming in that second quarter.
Yep. Keith Griffin is in the game at running back. They may give him a chance to carry the ball, and they do, and why not? And Archie's brother takes it down to the 13-yard line. And Washington can run one more play and go back to the dressing room. And the Broncos again get to the Super Bowl, but again will have to settle for being the AFC champions. Joe Bugel, the line coach.
What a job he's done. Redskins offensive line totally dominant from the second quarter on.
His line has helped that team pick up 603 total yards. And Doug Williams and the Skins will run off one more play, and then the celebration will begin.
This ends what has been a class week for the Washington Redskins and Doug Williams in particular. Our congratulations to Joe Gibbs, the Redskins, and in particular Doug Williams. Sensational.
And the same too for the Denver Broncos. You don't lose it all. There's Danny Reeves. Class player, class coach, class organization. You don't win your conference championship, and even though you get blown away in the Super Bowl, it's a pretty good organization. They need some work. They knew they needed it a year ago. They need some heavy work on the defensive unit, and they'll go out and get it done.
Unanswered points for the Washington Redskins, led by that guy Doug Williams. And
not a great shot.
Talk about your moment in the sun. Well deserved.
Super Bowl MVP, signed as a backup after the USFL folded. Almost traded to the Raiders. Almost.
And how much farther could we be from Tampa? How long ago that must seem to Doug Williams.
He's the Super Bowl MVP, and the Redskins the Super Bowl champs. 42-10. Stay with us for post-game activities coming up next.
NFC route right now. Let's go downstairs to Keith Jackson.
Thank you very much, Al. And here it is just beginning to grow in enthusiasm and fervor. And why wouldn't it? Commissioner Pete Rozelle holding the object of the Washington Redskins' affection, the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
Well, here we have the leader of our new America's team, owner Jack Kent Cook. And Jack, obviously, was a scintillating performance by the Redskins. That second quarter, incidentally, most valuable player, Doug Williams, scored more points. He was the main driving force, of course, in the second quarter than we ever scored in one quarter in the 68-year postseason history of the National Football League. Hail the Redskins.
I tell you, Pete, it's a tribute not only to a black quarterback, but to a very great quarterback. And we mustn't forget the Ricky Sanderses and all the rest of the great performances, the Timmy Smiths and so on. All I can say is that I'm terribly proud to have won 2 out of 3 Super Bowls, and the entire credit goes to Joe Gibbs, to Bobby Beathard, the assistant coaching staff, and a magnificent band of football players. I hope to be in a Super Bowl next year.
Well, I know the commissioner doesn't really fall in love with that word dynasty, Jack, but you guys ain't doing bad 2 out of 3 in the 80s.
I hope that there is the beginning of a dynasty here, and I have every reason to believe that perhaps we may suspect one. Thank you, Keith.
Well, you have had your NBA champions, you've had your NFL champions. I mean, my gosh, how long can this go on?
Well, it depends on how long I'm going to live, I think. And I've got another 25 years perhaps in me, and I hope that we have many more championships for Washington.
There's one thing before we bring in Joe Gibbs that I want you to have some mention of, and that is the man who owns a ball club who had the courage to go to his checkbook and pay $475,000 for a backup quarterback.
It was very easy to do because it was at the essence of wanting to win so badly. Had it been $875,000 or $1,875,000, I would have said the same thing to Joe, but I would have said it quite a little bit reluctantly, but nevertheless I would have said it. Go ahead, Joe, and get him. It's the greatest thing that's happened to us to have Doug here. He's coming over here. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of everybody on the club, and he's a real leader. But the best leader on the club is my dear friend Joe Gibbs, our head coach.
Thank you, Jack. Congratulations to you.
Joe?
Here comes Joe. Congratulations. It's marvelous.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Dear
Appreciate
Joe.
everything, your support and everything. We're thrilled. Thank you, Commissioner. I feel very humble right now from a Redskins standpoint. I feel very humble, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of this. Hey, I thank God I have a chance to work in an organization like this, have an owner like this, and all those things that support me, the coaching staff and our fans, and it really was a team effort for us, so I appreciate it very much.
Somebody had to put all the nuts and bolts and pieces together, and I just have to say nobody's done it better in the 80 than you have.
Well, I think it's a tribute to our organization. It's from top to bottom. It starts with the big boss, and Bobby Beathard gets the players, and John Cook, and everybody in our organization. Mr. Cook feels the same way as the fans and our coaching staff that Mr. Cook got from me. And I'm probably the most dependent guy out of all of them, and I just think very thankful. Thank God, like I said, that I have a chance to be a part of this, and we're thrilled. Everybody in our Redskin organization. I'm the most thrilled for everybody that got to enjoy it, and Mr. Cook is too. all of our fans and everybody that came out here.
That's great, Joe. It is said all society owes an individual as an opportunity, and we had a man today exercise that brilliantly. We'll be visiting with the man who did it, the MVP, Doug Williams, a man of opportunity, and they are whooping it up in Georgetown. Doug Williams, who set 2 Super Bowl records, tied 2 others. And the obvious question is, though he doesn't show it, this has to be the highest moment of his life.
Well, there's no doubt about it, Keith. You know, as a professional football player, to go to the Super Bowl, #1 is great, but in order to win it, that's even better. And I've been in the league, been playing football now for 10 years, and I just got an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl, and the most important thing to me was winning it.
May I say to you, sir, I think you have handled your personal week of history nobly.
Well, you know, the thing I had to say to myself, first of all, I didn't come here with the Washington Redskins as a black quarterback. I came here as the quarterback of the Washington Redskins and to play a football game to win it. Now, whatever happened after that, you know, I can't control anyway. So the most important thing to me was to go out and perform up to my abilities and try to win the football game.
I talked to Coach Eddie Robinson last night. He said he's a man who can stand tall in adversity. I'm not worried about him. Nothing happened in the first quarter, and then suddenly you were hurt, sat out of play, came back on a sore leg, and blew it open.
Well, the thing about our team, the Washington Redskins, a lot of people don't give us credit, but all year long we've been the type of team we get behind, never let down. And I think that's the good part of this football team, the fact that we still believe we're going to win the football game no matter what happens.
You can now go home to that acreage, sit down, stick up your feet, and listen to the bird sings in Zachary, Louisiana.
You know, the good thing about that, you know, this week I had an opportunity to talk to Dan Fouts, had an opportunity to talk to Jim Hart. You know, those guys were great quarterbacks in this league and never had an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl. So, you know, I look at myself and say I'm blessed to have had an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl.
Congratulations. Enjoy your off season because you've earned it.
Thank you, Keith.
In the Denver locker room with John Elway. John, tell me what you were thinking, how you felt when you threw the first pass for the touchdown.
Well, we felt good. We felt, you know, coming in, we had a lot of confidence in our offense, and, you know, we came out and wanted to take a chance right off the bat and made the big play, and, you know, that got us going. And then, you know, we moved the ball well in the first quarter, and, you know, we had some opportunities, got a field goal out of it, but didn't get in the end zone.
You're up by 10. Can you pick a moment in the game where it all changed?
Well, I don't know. Sometime in that second quarter, I think that, you know, that next drive they started making some big plays, and they kept coming and coming. And, you know, the next time we looked up, it was they had 35 points on the board. So, you know, it was just that whole second quarter that stopped us, and we didn't answer the bell when they did score.
You've always handled pressure well, all kinds of pressure. Was it any different in that second half coming out?
You bet. I think anytime you get down to a team like the Redskins and you're down 35 or 25 points like we were, you know, they're going to tie their ears back and come after you. And, you know, with those 2 great ends outside and those big guys pushing inside, it makes it that much more tougher to throw the football, and especially when they know we're going to throw.
When you're looking downfield, did you see anything differently, anything out of the ordinary happening?
No, not really. They played exactly what we thought. They were going to play man. The thing that they did do is they did a good job jamming people outside and really kind of throwing the rhythm off of the passing game. And, you know, we're having a tough time. And if we can't get out the line of scrimmage clean, that those big guys come, and it's tough in the passing game.
Well, we won't pretend that we know how it feels to stand in your shoes, but we certainly do appreciate your politeness and your cooperation, even in the losing efforts.
You bet, and I congratulate the Washington Redskins.